Mr. Bramble, would you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Loudermilk,
Here?
Ms. Alsop,
Here.
Ms. Wager,
Here.
Mr. Thacker, Ms. Thies,
Here.
Mr. Norris.
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
First order of business we have is look to see if there's any corrections in the journal for the preceding meetings. If not, I would accept those minutes, or those meetings, a motion to accept those meetings. First one is December 6th, the special meeting, 2022. Starting on page 57.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Motion been made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, is there any discussion? With no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. So let's look at then the minutes for the Tuesday, January 3rd at 5 p.m. Those minutes are starting on page 60.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 3rd, 2023 council minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Dees and second by Councilman Thompson. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item is public comment, limited items not on tonight's agenda. If you have a comment, please come up to the podium, give your name, and please limit to 3 minutes.
Not on the agenda, right?
Not on the agenda, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm Kevin Southwood, and what I'd like to have, or have help with, and I need help from everybody in this town. I've been using my mind, I've been using my cues to help me. Such phenomenal, it's like a miracle what I've been able to do. And one of the problems that I worked with was I used a clothespin on one of my vents to help me drive better. I'm somewhat of an aggressive driver. I've been doing this for 3.5 months. I calmed my driving down probably at least 90% plus. Hell, I don't even cuss when I drive in my truck anymore. You know, I've mellowed out my bad behavior. It's helped me solve a lot of my bad problems with my driving. Plus, it's helped me to calm down. Instead of going someplace, I just accept it and I don't get upset. So my mental anguish has lessened just by using a clothespin, a cue. I've been doing it, like I said, for almost 4 months, and I've done it for the idea I wanted to help solve my aggressive driving. Well, and the more you do things like this, the more things you have come and wrap in your head. Well, if it could work for aggressive driving, It could work for people that stay on their cell phones, people that have no situational awareness, like they drive too slow, they cause road rage, they stay at green lights for 3 or 4 seconds. Everybody, but they don't take advantage of anything around them that they could help lessen the people's anger when they drive. A clothespin, if it can solve aggressive driving, what that does, I don't have to worry about getting a ticket. If I was still employed, I wouldn't have to worry about losing my job, having to go to court, having to go to your jail, and all this, it requires effort. I put in a lot of effort on this. A clothespin to put on your vent of your car or your truck. It's every time you look at, you think, I'm going to have to drive better. I'm going to have to drive safer. Well, this requires community effort to use our imagination. And for me, I want to give Terre Haute a positive. We need a positive. We're like the worst county in the state of Indiana. And Indiana is in the bottom 10 states in this country on many parameters. So I want to give Terre Haute a positive that is so unbelievable that it could give Terre Haute national attention.
Mr. Southwood, could I ask you a question? Is that clothespin that you clip on there, is that a visual reminder to you? Is that how you use it?
That's what it is. And,
That's a great idea.
well, you know what? Everybody wants tax money from you. I'm trying to use people's imagination, and if you could believe in that, all you have to do, you see it up there, it's in your sight all the time. And I don't even really look at it now, but I know it's there. But the first month or two, I cussed more when I was driving than I did without it. Because what it made me aware of it. When I'm aware of something, every time I drive that car or my truck, I have to be aware of it. And that means it sets in my mind, I have to do something about it.
Okay, well, if you stick around, I'll come and talk to you after this meeting, and we'll see if we can work something out on that, okay?
Do you have any of those with you? We might need to pass a few clothespins out tonight.
Well, he does.
Hey, I saw he had the stuff. Because we may have to tell some people something they might not like tonight.
Well,
So I may have to pass
okay.
out a couple of
the
clothespins.
amount of effort that I had to put, my truck's broke down, it's gonna cost me money, and I rode my bike from up around Vigo School, down here in the wind. That's a lot more effort than what I'm asking people, to do something. If you give a little bit of effort, if you don't understand something, all you have to do is test it. You can test it, and too much, you can tell me whether what I'm trying to tell you is
What's
factual.
that?
There's $5 for those clothespins. I may need to pass
Okay.
them out. No,
We're gonna
I'm
pass
glad
these
to do
out
it.
for you.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for your positive input.
It's just using your imagination, and it can solve a big problem. Matter of fact, it can help you go national, and it can solve a lot of road rage. For people on the cell phone, it's right there, it plays on your mind. It's like that clothespin is like a police officer.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Now, that's, Mr. Southwood set a pretty high bar here for us. Does anybody else have a comment they'd like to make tonight? Okay, then let's go to elected officials, other officers, agencies of the county that would like to speak at this time. Surely somebody's got somebody that wants to speak. If you don't get up there, Chris is going to get up there. So I'm just.
He's gonna get up there
he's gonna
anyway.
get a
He'll,
clothespin.
he'll be there.
So, not Chris. I know you'd like to speak tonight.
You're a lot to handle. This is a whole new world. Thank you for hearing me out this evening. It was under my impression we were going to try to kind of take some action on the American Rescue Plan adoption tonight. I understand that's not going to happen. So I'm just asking you, before we get to this next March meeting, please reach out to the commissioners so you can let us know everything you want. I hear there's rumblings of maybe having a public meeting, which is fine. Just advise us how you would like us to move forward so we can start making, because in March we would like to bring a couple appropriations forward, especially one for the county engineer's office for the culverts and stuff like that.
And hopefully at this time you would be willing to take some questions from the council. I
Yep.
mean, because
Yep.
we had a really packed night last week, and of course we do again tonight, but we won't be having an hour presentation. So, I mean, I think that as we have questions, I know the public has questions. So if anybody here would like to ask Mr. Schweitzer a question regarding ARPA, that would be a great time. Councilman Manley?
I wasn't able to attend last week's meeting. I was on a visit out of town with my daughter. So I obtained the same PowerPoint that I think everybody else obtained from RGL Solutions. And while it was a PowerPoint, it wasn't super informative in and of itself. But what I'd noticed was it discussed ARPA and READY together. Is there a reason for that? We just trying to secure matching funds, or what are we trying to accomplish?
Yeah, trying to get some of these entities that received a READY grant through the state of Indiana's ARPA funds the opportunity to accomplish their goal. Specifically, one's the Children's Museum that has a perfect project for READY 2, which it seems is like it's selling through the legislation. The conversation about maybe it's unfortunately have to pay for consulting fees and feasibility studies, but it's a public project. So we would like to use this READY funding, or this ARPA funding, to get their READY grant accomplished for the feasibility study, and then have this lined up for READY 2 to be able to hopefully get them over the hump to get that project done.
So do we have a overall document that gives us the,
I just found, well, I didn't find out today, but we are working on that. I think I will be able to have it by next Friday to give to all of you,
I think that'd be
which has a
helpful.
pretty big breakdown.
I think it'd be helpful to see how the parts intertwine and
Yeah,
work together.
the reason for the adoption, according to ARPA plans, is we need you guys basically to give us a blessing on moving forward with a plan. That plan is mostly just a guide to keep us on track toward a goal. Along the way, we're going to have hiccups. Along the way, we're going to ask for appropriations, and there's going to be a lot of questions asked at that time for not only you, but the public. But we just really need, before I can engage with, for example, the United Way to take care of some of these small business grants or nonprofit grants, I need to make sure the funding will be readily available, or at least I can start that conversation with them.
Anybody else have a question? Mr. Schweitzer? Councilman Ware?
I do, Mr. Commissioner. I would like to have some information about how some of those projects will be fleshed out in terms of, you know, like the housing thing, about what would the cost be of, like, consulting and the developer, and how much goes into the actual building of the project, you know. And I'm just adamant about using local workers in the thing. That's our local money here. I want the local people to be included in building the project. Yeah, I'm just really strong for that. And also, you know, just getting the dang thing underway so that, I mean, these are critical things, and I commend you guys for coming up with these ideas. It's wonderful. I mean, that child care at ISU, that's near and dear to my heart. Child care is just,
Yeah.
is just killing the working families, as you know, in this
Got to,
community.
man.
I know
Yeah.
you know. And,
So, Vicki, we're going to probably work with Thrive with a housing initiative. They already have a good project started, and they will kind of, I shouldn't say lead us, but be with us as we approach these, whatever it may be, a significant housing project altogether, or some infrastructure needs throughout the county to get housing projects started. I don't exactly know how that looks yet, but that's what we're working on as we speak.
how, I mean, give me an idea of, I know you can't pull a rabbit out of your hat, but how long are we looking at until we can see some of this stuff starting to take shape?
Well, I think in a month or two, we'll be able to have plans or applications. We're going to call them applications. So if you're a home builder and you want to apply for some funds, poor Jimmy and Cheryl will have all types of reporting to do on all this stuff, so we'll have to work with them as well. We'll form some type of application. They will come to us. The group of commissioners will consider it, and then we'll come to you for the appropriation if you guys agree that it's the right route to take on several of these things.
Do you have enough staff to deal with this?
Nope, but we'll figure it out.
That's what I thought.
It's our duty to figure it out, so we'll figure it out.
Okay, and so
But that's where our community
Should you be
collaboration.
putting some of that into, some of this art money? You might need to think about getting some staff to help you.
I think we'll be okay. I'm confident we'll get it figured out.
Woo, okay. We got that on record.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Marie?
I think you're already kind of leading to what I wanted to see with it. Sorry. I've been talking all day. So, just like how you mentioned, like Thrive, dealing with like the housing and stuff, I think that's where I just wanted some clarity, and you just even mentioned like that we would serve on appropriations, because I think initially when we saw the plan and looking at it and we approve it, then we think it's all out
Yeah.
of our hands.
No.
And I think that's, the concern is what will be the process to oversee this? Because my thing is, like, for example, with the Children's Museum, I absolutely want to see that built. And I would rather, if we had to, I'd rather, put more money into that than beyond consulting. But I just want to see projects that we can visibly see when we walk away from this. And I've said that all along. So I think that was the biggest concern, is if you can provide us any steps, or like, if United Way is going to handle, this part of it, or just like the steps of the process, I think that's the clarity that we need.
Yep.
It's not, are there parts of the plan I'm more excited about than others? Absolutely.
Undoubtedly on the same
But,
way.
I think that clarity of the steps, and I know you can't know all the steps, and we know that, but just having a little bit more on that. The only other question specifically, just kind of other than like the appropriations and the controls and like kind of who's gonna act as the gateway on these, different parts, is, for the housing, obviously a crisis. I think we're gonna have to pay attention to what kind of housing,
Mhm.
because for families to buy homes in this community, especially in certain ranges, it's very difficult. So are we talking multifamily, single family, are we talking apartments? Just to make sure we have quite the diversity and variety. Recently I've been to a couple towns where they even have, and I like these anyways, I think they're kind of neat, like what you call row houses, kind of the, I think Unpopular, they've done stuff like that, where you have a lot of different options and cost and levels, to really kind of support that, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of different,
The
so many
reason-
different needs.
The reason I'm so confident in getting this accomplished is because of the partnerships we've formed while doing this. So Thrive has been super important in all this, especially the housing discussion. Vicki, I think you attended a couple housing meetings. Those are super informative. They're to a point now of where they're really getting down into the what exactly do we need. And so it's housing across the board, from low income all the way up to executive housing. So we'll work our way through that and come up with a good application.
And then, lastly, just again, I need to stress that as you look through that, I know consultants have to happen and so on. I just want to make sure we get the projects, because the hope of having Ready To, I think we've done a great job getting grants,
Mhm.
but I don't want to hang on that. I want to
Sure.
make sure we get some projects completed that are kind of more specified. So we have some, there's definitely some, like with the slope with the elevator
Yep.
and things like that.
Agreed. Great questions. Thank you.
Questions that were asked to me on this are primarily involved with the colleges. I was asked about Indiana State and the daycare. Why are they getting money? Rose Holman, who has a large endowment, why are we paying to move that? Rose Holman Ventures. And the last one I got was in regards to St. Mary's Equine Center receiving $500 from the taxpayer. The school is a private entity and should be receiving tax money. So those are the questions that were asked of me.
Yeah, I'm going to send you guys an actual email addressing those, because I've had the same questions myself. I didn't come prepared to talk about that publicly tonight. But I would like to send you some information. I'll be happy to talk about it publicly. I just want to make sure I say everything I want to say correctly.
One thing that I had some questions about, folks were saying, lacking in this county. Transportation for folks who can't afford transportation, and we're gonna have to address that. That's a really critical need that we just never approach. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, Vicki, Ryan Wickens, who's a former employee of Vigo County government, has went to work for the MPO in the city of Terre Haute. He's doing an incredible job. He was supposed to be on our agenda today to talk. I'm not sure why he didn't make it, but he has came to
Probably couldn't get here.
1 or 2 meetings so far, and they actually have a rural transportation council now meeting at the Vigo County Public Library to address those concerns. So that conversation has started. We'll just have to see where it ends up.
Thank you.
Just one more thing, Chris. Early on, I think there was a lot of interest and quite a bit of energy about producing some type of sports park. I know that's not in this. Is there any plans in the near future to develop some type of sports park?
We could certainly, Councilman Loudermilk, use some ARPA money potentially for some infrastructure needs. I believe where that's going to be built will be in the city. So I would like to see them put forth some money first before we got to the point of, although I would like it to be a collaborative effort. The CIB recently just contracted with Pros Consulting, and we're paying for that feasibility study to see how big, how much, how expensive this place should be, where it should be. I think they've spoken to maybe 50 or 100 community individuals, and they're having that conversation, or that actually just wrapped up. So, yeah, there could be potential for that. We just don't know what capacity yet.
So in the city, what location are we talking about in the city?
Well, I would say everything's moving toward the east side. I don't know that for sure. I know when we had our conversation, Mark and I went, they asked where we would like to see it personally. I think they asked everybody that, so I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but I would assume it would be within city limits.
One of the things that I noticed that was left off was the Parks Department. And I know that personally, we had discussed it. You said that there's the $4 million still waiting out there. If we could see plans for the Parks Department, I think those, obviously we just approved, $1 million or whatever the total is gonna be for the trail that goes out to Riley. And I know that a lot of the other parks could use some upgrading and stuff like that. One of the other properties that I think is important to the community is the fairgrounds. And there's nothing on there for the fairgrounds. I know it's a privately controlled entity, but it's something that I think is extremely has extreme value to the community. So I'd like to see something on those two topics.
I think I can say this with Adam. Adam and I and Jason Seymour from Baker Tilly exchanged emails yesterday giving Adam permission to speak to Baker Tilly about some projects to see if they could be qualified for ARPA. Some of the ARPA language was you can do anything in a park that's identified as low income. So a park in a low income neighborhood, ARPA monies could be used. Have those things changed? Have those rules changed? Good question, because we're dealing with the federal government and we're trying to get further clarification with Baker Tilly on that. So yeah, there's opportunity for the Parks Department if we can come to a conclusion of everything's okay. Ultimately, the goal is to spend this money and not get audited and have to pay it back. So we're going to do everything we can, working with you, to make sure we cover all of our bases.
I know there's a lot of buildings that we take care of, like the Purdue Extension, soil and water and things like that. I guess in my mind, I just think having a central hub for those, like you guys had possibly proposed for the old jail location, and maybe even something like that down at the fairgrounds may be a good place to have that, so.
Yeah, we can discuss the fairgrounds. Yeah, that's a good discussion. We'll have that.
Thank you, Marie. So I want to make sure everybody had an opportunity. I did a little research on myself, and I talked with our jail solutions. I feel much better after having those conversations, but I think it's important, just like everybody here had a question, I think that the public has questions, and it's not for input to change direction, but within this plan that we have, and I think the public will need education. And so that's what I've reached out and say, can we help educate? Because we don't want to try to educate them through council during a regular meeting.
Sure.
But if we could have a public meeting where they could be more educated on ARPA fund, that's all. And I feel much better about it after talking with Rachel, and I know she can't have a half-hour conversation with every citizen, so if we could do
Well,
that in a public forum,
could.
I think it would be much more effective. That's just a suggestion, it's not a requirement from me. And, but I do think tonight you helped answer some of those questions already here, and this is a public forum as well. But if they could have the focus on it, where the PowerPoint could be shown and broke down a little more. And we learned some here, just that we don't have to know how everything's gonna be spent, because you're still gonna be coming back and asking for appropriations. But, you know, we have this sense, and on the council, if we approve something, then we understand it and we can answer questions on it. And that, I don't think any of us had that level of comfort. I just spoke to some individuals on the council, but I think we have to feel like we understand it well enough. If somebody breaches a question to us, we can try to answer. And that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah,
We're not trying to slow walk it, we're just trying to understand it. And so, but I do have a clothespin for you for your efforts.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I do want to just say, we're to a point of, we need to do our due diligence, but we also need to have a sense of urgency. This
Right.
money has to be expended by 2026, which
Yeah.
gives us about 30 months to get these things done, and we know how government works.
Yes.
So, we need to move along. That's all I ask.
Can you catch?
Nope, I'm good.
See, I tried. Okay, any other public official that would, or elected official or agencies of the county at this time?
Council President Thacker. Basically, I really don't have a question, and this kind of is directed toward some of the agenda items, even though it's not a question about the agenda items. I do know that we've got the Baker-Tilly study. That's a big thing that's on your table.
Mhm.
I respect what you guys have to face and the financial ramifications of anything that you decide. I do know that a lot of people have came with requests for appropriations and increases to salaries and things like that. I guess what I want to say is, as an elected official and to represent my office, no disrespect to anybody that's asked for anything. We all feel that maybe our staff isn't necessarily compensated at the level they should be. I know the adage goes, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. I haven't been squeaking for my office because I think that I'm gonna let the process go and see what happens before I ever ask for anything. So I guess that's just the statement I wanted to make.
Sure.
It just because my office and maybe a few of the other offices aren't coming and asking for anything, doesn't necessarily mean that they wanna be left behind as things progress.
And to clarify to everybody, Mr. Gardner is with the assessor's office.
Sorry, yeah.
That's fine.
Kevin Gardner, County Assessor.
And so, with that, as soon as everybody has, I have an update of the Baker-Tilly, that little bit, the information I've gathered, and I want to share with everybody, so I think that's a great segue, you know, so if you, does anybody have any questions of Mr. Gardner before he goes down? Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
So, with that being said, and I know I didn't ask him to help me with the segue, but I had reached out after our last meeting on Tuesday. I reached out with Kara, and we got together on Thursday with Baker-Tilly. We had a phone call with Jada Kent, the one who put on the presentation on February the 3rd on a Friday here. And one of the things that came to our attention is the numbers that we were dealing with was numbers that was part of the market study of an email that I saw that had 2/12/22 on it. But that market study was numbers of the market of April of 22. So those, what we would call those are, they need to be aged or they are dated. So I asked Baker-Tilly, Jada, to do that, and I asked that if she could possibly have that back to me by Tuesday, today, so then I can share it with the county council, because county council is gonna have to make some tough decisions, like what kind of pay plans are we gonna do? What is our goals? Where are we gonna try to get this, to what market level are we gonna try to get all the employees? And with that being said, when we gave that study on Friday, the 3rd of February, there was 32 employees at the time for the county that were below low. And there was some conversation about maybe we should do something immediately for those 32 individuals. Well, the only number that I've got updated so far is if we update that numbers to today's numbers, now we have 81 people who are below low, and the price went from $83,000 to $218,000. Now, I am just now sharing that with the council here, and I did share with them the old study. I thought I would have the new study to share with them, but I have not. And we all just got laptops, and I will say, I am partially blamed for the ARPA because when I saw the email from Commissioner Schweitzer, I thought that they were wanting to make the presentation, we digest it, and then we need to do some action. And in fact, he did ask that we adopt that presentation. So that's my apology, and I will own whatever shortcomings. And that's why you get the clothespin if you come up here. But with that being said, is the Baker-Tilly is a really important study, and what I envision is at the end of the night tonight, or I can say it now, is I would like to form a subcommittee of some of the three of us that aren't on the budget study, and we meet with Baker-Tilly between now and March, and we get the information and make a recommendation at the March meeting. And at the March meeting, we would make a recommendation to the council, and we take action on all the items that Baker-Tilly wants us to give them answers on, and then we roll that out. And at some point in here, with Baker-Tilly's assistance, we roll this out to all the department heads, and they see what we're dealing with. And then what the goal is going to be is, are we going to try to get everybody to the median? Are we going to try to do that in what time frame? How are we going to do that? And how much money is that going to cost? Then we have to roll that into our budget for 2024. And if we have to take action before then, if that's what the council decides they want to do on those $218,000 for 81 people, then that's what we'll do. But that will be up to the council to decide. So I'd like that to be Marie, David Thompson, and myself to do that subcommittee and get started on that. The last thing I would say is with the Baker-Tilly study, I'm open for suggestions, and what we're going to do is I want everybody to feel like that we're moving as fast as we can with it and trying to make the decisions. We need to, after talking to the auditor's office today, I need to get them involved in this because they have to decide where that money comes out of to appropriate. Is that we talked about if we were going to do any funding for it. So we have to make sure it comes out of the right accounts. So we've got some work to do on that. I'm aware of it, and we're trying to move forward. And so I wanted to give, did I leave anything out on the Baker-Tilly study, or anybody want to mention anything on it at this time? Okay.
I just wanted to say, for the benefit of those folks who are watching us streaming and those viewing the audience, this is a study on our pay for our county employees. Go ahead and explain that.
Yeah, so it's a study. Baker-Tilly provides a service for market analysis of compensation for employees. And the only other thing I did neglect to say is, at the point that this Baker-Tilly study is rolled out to the department heads, and that's something that the council has to decide on, I'd like to think that it would come from, the appeals would come from the department heads on behalf of their staff, as Mr. Gardner said. And if they don't think that the number is right for the Baker-Tilly study, then they have an opportunity to appeal it and to be heard. And I think that's an important feature of this compensation study. The study is not any better than how it's applied. So, Councilman Thompson?
Mine's not about Baker-Tilly.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Anything else on, anybody got anything on Baker-Tilly?
Yes.
Okay.
So on February 3rd, they assured us we get the PowerPoint presentation. Are we gonna get that?
Oh, I thought everybody had that. That was sent out, I believe, to the county email.
I don't think I received it.
Did everybody receive that?
I didn't receive it.
Oh, okay, well, there again,
I don't think I did.
okay, I will, no, the February 3rd PowerPoint. Yeah, that's a PowerPoint that is supposed to have been out there, but I
And
apologize.
do we have a list of the 81 employees?
I don't, because I don't have that updated list yet, Councilman Loudermilk. We had, the old list that you have, that was sent today, has the 32, original 32. They're on that, and there is a highlighting on it. And it's a spreadsheet that's quite comprehensive. And, so, yeah, that should have been distributed as well today. And if you don't have it, I will make sure you get it.
Was that before the meeting?
Yes, yeah, it was earlier today. And so, yeah, I'll make sure that, I may have to have, IT help me, but I thought that at one time when I tried to send it, it was such a large file, it did not want to send, so I may have to have it compressed, so, sorry about the technicality on that. If there's nothing else on Baker Tilly and Mr. Thompson?
Is that it? Last week, we were asked for approximately $3.7 million in additional appropriations. I had some questions about the 2023 budget and made some requests for some other information from Cheryl or from the auditor's office, and we've got part of it here, but I think, do you have some more that you can explain?
I do have the spreadsheets for the 2023, 2022, and 2021 is what I printed off for you.
Okay.
Which was summaries, basically, of I think what you had asked for was truly the expenses, what we ended with, the budget, the remaining appropriations that we had from each one.
Yes, that's correct. Can you pass those out, please?
President Thacker,
Yes.
I did find that email, but there was not an attachment to it, so I would
The
say
one
that it's
which one, the one
from
today?
from 2/7.
Oh, okay, well, that evidently then that was the issue, so
Yeah.
I will get it. Thank you. The one with the PowerPoint, correct? Okay. I knew we'd send it out.
But there's no PowerPoint.
That's what he just said, I didn't realize, nobody said anything about it, so I assumed it was there. No, not a problem.
I think there's always questions over the revenue, the appropriations, and the operating balance, so that's the reason I asked for this. It was explained to me earlier today, but I think if you have any questions, you can ask Cheryl, or she can explain it now.
You want 2023 or you want past?
Start with 2023, if you would.
What you have in front of you for 2023 is your ending balance for 2022. And basically what you've been given is all what I call levy funds. I can do and started a spreadsheet of every fund that you budget, but these are your levy funds, which is your most important ones that are approved by DLGF. So it gives you your balance of 12/31/2022. The estimated miscellaneous revenue, which was proposed during the budget session for the 2023 budget, along with DLGF, and then the estimated property tax to be collected, and that is your levy minus your circuit breaker of your 9.2 million, 9,292,132. And then your expenses as of, which is your 2023 budget and any encumbrances. Your difference is your expenses compared to your revenue, and your projected balance of 12/31/2023 as it stands, and the projected percent of your cash balance to your expenses, which is what the Department of Local Government and Finance looks at. And so that's kind of, I went through 2022, actually gave you, again, what your cash balances were, your expenditures, your budget appropriation, what your total appropriation was, includes any additional appropriations or encumbrances it had in it, and your remaining appropriations, so you could see a history of maybe what has been spent compared to what was appropriated, and what remaining appropriations were left that they did not spend. And the same thing for 21. As I said, I did go back to 17 to do this. However, I was having some printing difficulties right before the meeting and couldn't get all the way back to 17, but I do have note to make, and I think is what David and I were talking about, I'm sorry, Councilmember Thompson, earlier today. Yes, you ended with the $25 million balance in the general fund. When you did the 2022 budget, which would give you your operating balance that you projected for 2022, you did use 16 million. 7 something like that, is what you projected, okay, as an operating balance. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of reasons for, that not everybody spent the full budget. You left over, your circuit breakers may have came in a little less. And I do have a thing to show you, that your miscellaneous revenues came in about another $2 or $3 million higher than what we projected. So, during budgeting, I've always said it's all estimates, and it's all projections. And that's why we work with the Department of Local Government and Finance to try to come up with the best way to handle that. Anything else you want me to answer?
I don't have any questions, no.
Okay. Anybody else while we're on the subject? And I would say thank you for all this. I understand you got this right off of the DLCF.
Well, the other thing that I gave you is, not the other one. That is exactly what we do in Gateway with Department of Local Government and Finance. So what you're looking at is what is required for us to give them when you do an additional appropriation. Again, all it's telling you is what you started with, and any additionals you add to that budget, your projected balance for 2023, and your percent, and whether they believe it's fundable.
And hopefully that going forward will be all on the same, using the same terminology, the same kind of calculation. Okay. So, is there any other questions or comments that we move on to the reports from the committee? Any reports? I don't know of any reports from committees, unless anybody has something I'm not aware of. We have started the budget process. So, resolution or ordinance other than appropriation. First one I have on is resolution of reallocation 2023-1, Purdue Extension out of series transfer ROC 2023-8. And so they were not here on last week. And so what do we have here on that we need to do? Yes, Purdue. Oh, they were here. I'm sorry. They were here. That's right. I got the wrong one. I had it marked on my other one. 13. That's just, so this is for office supplies of $1,479 requested. Transfer, yeah. Into office furniture. Okay. So this is, so I would, on this series transfer, would take if you guys, there's no one asking questions, so if somebody would like, Chair would accept a motion.
I move to approve the appropriation 2023-01.
Motion been made to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made, approved, seconded. Any discussion? Let's go ahead and I'm going to ask for a voice vote, and if it's close, then we'll do a roll call. If not, we'll move forward. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The next one is resolution reallocation 2023-02, the treasurer's out of series transfer. Same type of a situation here. We have it on page 14, County General Fund Treasurer from other supplies. This is also for an $800 expenditure. Would accept a motion on that.
I make a motion, we accept.
Second.
Motion to accept the request and seconded. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Third one, motion reallocation 2023-3, reassessment Harrison Township Assessor, out of series transfer ROC 2023-12. And we did discuss this one as well. I believe we have the Township Assessor here, if there's any questions for that. And this was for office supplies. Excuse me. Yeah, the transferring from one account to the next. If there's not any
Is it
questions?
2023-12?
It says on mine, it's
Dash
2023,
Dash 03.
yeah, dash 12, it
That's
says.
It's on page 15.
Well, I may have
The
a confusion.
resolution number, the request of transfer was 12 and the resolution is 3.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because I read it,
Yeah.
resolution reallocation 2023-03, but as the out of series transfer is
Resolution,
2023-12. Okay. It's for $3,500.
I move we approve Resolution 2023-03.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, motion made and second. Any questions? No questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Who did the second on that one?
Aaron.
Councilman Loudermilk. So the next ones are number 8. These are ordinance relating to appropriations. Now, this one is the additional appropriation 2023-06. It's ROC 2023-15 for county general. This is the adjustment to the budget. So if we look at it, this is the one, it's on page 16. And this is the one that we did at the end of the year, and we said that if we raise the funds from 2.5% to 4%, that we would have to do an appropriation beginning of 2023. So that's what we have here. And that total is, and attaches a breakdown, but it's $655,188. Then the following pages, 17 through 21 are those tax. And those are all listed on here individually as well.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-06.
Okay, motion been made.
A second.
Second. Is there any questions on that? So make sure everybody sees that. We'll start on page 16, goes through page 21, and it goes here on your page of the agenda. It will go down to, I believe, it goes down to 15 on page 3, XV. Is that correct, Cheryl? Salary budget adjustments, the last one. Then additional appropriation to resolution is next after that. Is that correct?
No, there's an additional appropriation ordinance for each one of those funds. You have to do them separately. This is just county general.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
county
And the
Yeah,
breakdown
do we-
is
so,
for the department.
And I should
Next
ask
one
this
would
earlier.
be-
When we did it at the other meeting, we listed them all, but we need to do each one individually.
You have to do each one
Okay,
separate fund.
okay, very good.
Through 21, page 21.
And those are all on that page 17 through 21. So we're just on the appropriation for the general fund, and it is, yeah, 2023-06 for $655,188. Okay. Motion made second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so we can mark that one off. So the next one is additional appropriation 2023-7, ROC 2023-15, clerk perpetuation, and the 2023 salary adjustment. Should be there on 17?
Page 22.
22. Okay. Thank you. So, the chair would accept a motion for that.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-07.
I second it.
Motion made second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Additional appropriation 2023-8, ROC 2023-15, reassessment adjustment to the salary 2023 budget. It's on page 23. For a total of $19,266.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-08.
Motion made.
I second it.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Additional appropriation 2023-9, and it is on page 24, $8,638.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-09.
I second it.
Second. Motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Additional appropriation 2023-10, and it is on page 25 for $2,053.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-10.
I second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, moving on to additional appropriation 2023-11. And drug court, this is on page 26 for $958.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-11.
I second it.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, additional appropriation 2023-12, and it is on page 27 at $11,879.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-12.
I second it.
Motion made second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Additional appropriation 2023-13, and this is parks non-reverting, and it is on page 28 for $714.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-13.
I second it.
Motion made, seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 2023-14, lit PSAP salary adjustment on page
9.
29. I was one page off, sorry. 29 for a total of $108,487. $108,487, sorry. All those,
Hold
Chair
on,
accept
let me
motion.
make a move.
What's that?
I'll move.
Okay,
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-14.
I second it.
motion made second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2023-15 on page 30 at $4,114.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-15.
I second it.
Motion made second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. 2023-16, and this is ahead of myself.
Got- yeah.
2023-15 engineering salary adjustment. That should be on page 31.
Okay.
30.
Oh,
30 you just did.
Or did I skip the page?
I
did
did,
engineering.
did I do 30
It's
wrong?
31.
We're on 16,
Yeah.
right?
2023. Yeah.
Are we on 2023-16,
Coon Bridge.
Coon Bridge? That's on page 31.
Yep.
Okay. I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-16.
I second it.
Okay, motion made, second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we are now for 2023-17 on page 32, $22,189.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-17.
I second it.
Okay, motion made, seconded, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Additional appropriation 2023-18, highway, that's on page 33, for $8,108.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-18.
I second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Additional appropriation 2023-19, highway, and it is on page 34, and it is for $61,853.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-19.
I second it.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Additional appropriation 2023-20, highway 50532, salary adjustment on page 35 for $24,826.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-20.
I second it.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. So now, that takes care of all the ones that were salary adjustment that, that we had to do at the beginning of the new year.
I
Now,
think I burned up my credit card.
I think you did.
You guys have a system.
Okay, now we, move along to additional appropriations, 2023-02, adult, I'm sorry, I read that wrong, 2023-04, ROC 2023-07, Alternative Dispute Resolution Fund Distribution. That one is, on page 36, and if anybody has any questions, I believe we have somebody here tonight that can answer them. If not, we can take action. It's council's. You have any questions on that? No questions, I accept the motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? No further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
You're fine. I was just trying to figure something out.
Okay. All right, I don't want to leave anybody behind. It just had a lot of coverage here. So the next one is additional appropriation for 2023-02, ROC 2023-02, Adult Protective Services Vehicles. And that is on page 37. We had discussion on this at our meeting last week, but if you guys have additional questions, Mr. Prosecutor, Terry Modison's available.
As I stated at the last meeting, the leases run out on the 3 cars. And we were told basically to come to the council because the cheapest way to proceed would be to purchase the 3 cars on the buyout on the leases as opposed to have to buy 3 new cars.
That's correct.
We're good on this.
Does anybody have any questions for prosecutor?
I just wanted to clarify budget-wise, we had, in the budget had, looked at the lease already and counted it, right? Right, so these are not necessarily additional cars, it's just purchasing them, so they're
No.
ours.
Yeah, and all three cars have under 20,000 miles on it. So, and I think it was reiterated last meeting also that if we have any money left in our budget at the end of the year, we could throw that back towards the purchase of these cars.
And these are, was it adult protective that we cover multiple counties?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
So,
Ready for a motion?
I don't, did I write it down already? Did I write it wrong? I had to, have we not received a motion already?
Not
Okay.
yet.
Yeah, I would take a motion. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. I noted.
I make a motion to accept it.
Okay. is there-
Second.
Motion made second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next one is additional appropriation 2023-3, ROC 2023-3, LEPC 23 budget adjustment. And that would be on page 38. We had a gentleman spoke to it last week. Is there any additional questions at this time? I don't, if we don't have any questions, we accept the motion, or if you got a statement you need to make?
Nope.
Or you have a question? Yes.
So what was the circumstances?
Okay, yeah,
involving
and
the
so,
reduction?
yeah, that's correct, so this would be good for, because you weren't
Karen
able to
wasn't
be
here.
here. So, on this one is, it had been taken out of the budget, $24,000 was taken, $26,900 was reduced of the budget, and we come to find out in the letter that was received in the week's packet that we don't have authority to do that at the county level, it's a state level, so we need to put the money back into this
It's all
budget.
simple.
Is that, did I oversimplify it?
Nope, that's fine. I mean, it's not tax money.
Yeah, it's
So-
not our money that,
Yeah.
I just wondered how it came to be
yeah.
reduced.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Chair would accept the motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any further discussion? Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Additional appropriation 2023-05, ROC 2023-12, reassessment for Harrison Township Assessor State Meeting Budget. This one was addressed and it's on page 40, but we can have more discussion if you so choose.
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-05.
I second it.
Motion made and second. Is there any further discussion on this? No further discussion on it. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Ayes have it. So the, passes. So the next one is, so now this is one that would come into the discussion that we had earlier. This is part of the, it's a request from the clerk's office, and it's salary ordinance 2023-02, ROC 2023-1, clerk's salary increase. And that is on page 41. So if there's any questions on it, or if not any questions, we would have a motion on it.
Is this what, Mr. President, is this what, what's gonna go into the Baker Tilly report?
This is the Baker Tilly report does address this, and there was some discussion on it, how you guys wanted to handle that, but that would be, we just needed a form of a motion. That's up to you guys. That's up to you guys, whatever you guys want to do.
President Thacker,
Yes, Councilman Norris.
if we choose to wait on these until the Baker Tilly study comes in the next few weeks, can we approve these later and retro it back
Yes.
payment-wise?
Yes, well, you can, of course, at that time, you can do whatever you wish, but at this time, you either have to make a motion to accept the request, deny the request, or table the request. If you deny a request and then it's made again in 1 year of the same request, it would be against our rules. so that you guys can do whatever means you want to do. And then, so that's whatever you guys want to do on it. We do have Mr. Newman here that's available to answer any questions if we have them for you.
Mr. Newman, question for you since you're first up.
Sure.
Since the majority of us, or all of us, have not seen the Baker-Tilly study, as we're looking at this, I think, speaking for myself, I'd feel better if I tabled it and waited until we see that study so we can make the appropriate decisions, with the concern that maybe it would even come in even higher. I don't know than what you're proposing. So, and if we can take these back to retro, back to a starting date, I think that may be the easiest way to make sure it comes out right.
Okay. Can I ask a question of the council?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How long before this Baker-Tilly thing's done? It's been going on a year now.
So we.
I mean, we've gotten to a point now where, you know, we've battled this. I battled it with WIS before some of you came on the council, and I'd just like to know a time frame that's set in stone when we're going to be to the end of this path with Baker-Tilly. I know it hasn't been easy on anybody.
No.
Right. And that's why I asked about retroing it back, to make sure it's right.
I understand that, but I think there's a lot of people that want to, we need a drop dead date with Baker-Tilly because we still haven't,
I think there's
as a
whole
department
room
head, I
full.
haven't talked to Baker-Tilly.
Yeah, I
I
think
got
there's a
stuff
whole
from
room
Calissa,
filled.
when she didn't like what she got, she asked us for more, and we continued down that path. I mean, that's gone
Right.
now. I just like to know when we're talking about coming to some finalization.
Yeah, and the only thing I can tell you is what I had said earlier, I'll reiterate, that I had seen the study. The study I saw was dated December the 20th, and at that point, and we brought it up at the February 3rd meeting, we knew those numbers were old. I had hoped to get the new numbers. And when he says that, none of us have seen those numbers that are current ones. That's correct, because we haven't got that report. As soon as we get the report, I would like to see us have this accepted, the Baker-Tilly study. We have to give some answers to Baker-Tilly, so we owe them some answers. And so as soon as we give them the answers, I hope to have those done by March, and then they'll recalculate, because one of the things we're gonna have to do is just what Councilman North said is, are we gonna make those dates when are those dates gonna be effective? So all I can tell you is, well, my part is, I hope to get a subcommittee put together, and we meet before the March meeting, and then we give a recommendation. We make decisions in March, is what I'd like to see, and if we do that, then Baker-Tilly could do a final.
And I applaud that.
Yeah.
But to your point, Baker-Tilly's asking for more information. We've provided them information 3 different times from our office.
Yeah, and I think there's
And
been information.
and quite honestly,
needed.
it may be more than that, sir, and I wasn't trying to
Yeah,
interrupt.
and it may have been information that they needed going along, then now, once they have accumulated that, now, council, this is the first time I know that council's been asked for, to give feedback. And they had asked at one point, what they told me is, they wanted council to get all together and make a decision. Well, we decided it would be best under the public access, that we did that in public, so that's why we had the February 3rd meeting. So, at that point, they laid out what the questions are gonna ask of us, and so that's the first we have that. Then we'll have the subcommittee that will try to make a recommendation to the full council in March.
Sure.
So, and I think whatever we do, if we address, maybe it's the council's pleasure to address the 81 that are below low, and address that immediately, and then everybody else, since we got a 4% increase beginning of January, that we don't address that until the end of this calendar year. That's up to the council, so I don't know that answer. So, but yeah, I think either of those 3 motions are appropriate at this time, either to approve, to deny, or to table.
Hey, I'm not coming across argumentative or brash, but I'm saying I'm saying what's on a lot of people's mind, and that
Sure.
wasn't to be insulting to anybody in the council, or
No,
anybody in the
I
room
don't
for that
think-
matter. But, I mean, there comes to a stopping point that we were sold on something that we were told was gonna be done. We were asked for information and input, and all the department heads did that. We redid job descriptions multiple times so that it fits somebody's narrative. She's gone, it's gotten to a point now, we just would like some finality.
Yeah, I agree.
And win, lose, or draw. I mean, some
Yeah, and
people
that's
aren't gonna be
the-
happy with it.
And that's a task that falls on me, and I'm
I
trying
understand that.
trying to do that. But at the same time I'm never gonna tell you a date that I don't
Correct.
know the answer,
And I don't
know
want
the
you to.
answer. And I don't know that answer, but I do know, I'm telling you, the process that I wanna try to do. Council could decide in March, hey, we need more, they might wanna do it like ARPA, they may want more information.
I get that.
I think something to be noted, is that had we stuck with WIS instead of Baker Tilly, that maybe this study could have been done quicker, but that Baker Tilly, we thought was gonna be a fairer, introducing a new entity in to make it, more detailed and stuff like that, so.
I'm clear.
But,
We-
yeah, I
We were
think,
with WIS for how long, and they were
Right.
supposed to provide a service every year that they
Right.
failed to do for how many
Yeah.
years?
but I
So,
think,
in
we should have had it
retrospect to
done by
that,
January first.
sure.
By all means.
I
So
get it.
I think that, whether it come from the auditor or whether it come from Todd Thacker, I think that, getting a information out to them that says, we need this by March first, we just have to get it buttoned up and get it done.
Again, this isn't to be argumentative, I just
No,
want it to be
I don't
very
take it.
upfront about where a lot of people's heads are at and where we're thinking. If you wanna table it, if you wanna,
Yeah, I don't take it as argumentative at all. I think our job is to gather information, make a decision, and then either they're pleased with us or not, so. So I would, if you don't have any, if there's not any questions for Mr. Newman, I would accept a motion.
I'll make the motion to table salary ordinance 2023-02.
Okay, and that's on page 41, and so I remind everyone, when a motion's made to table, it takes 2/3 majority to pass, and it does require a second, so.
David seconded it.
Is there a second?
David seconded.
David, you second? Okay, so, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion to table 2023-02? No, if, no further discussion, then I'll go ahead and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So we will table that. Motion is tabled. Next one is salary ordinance 2023-03, ROC 2023-1. This is different than a salary request. This is and we have, if I'm not mistaken, we have entertained this idea before with
We
the
have,
clerk's
yes.
office. This is the deleting of the part-time positions plural, and adding full-time positions. That is on page 42, and it does come with an overall cost that Cheryl shared with us last meeting, because with this deleting of the 4 part-times at $13.36 an hour and increasing of 2 full-times at $18.81, plus the cost of the benefits, right? So we do have a total of, $50,715.64 for those annually, correct?
yes, sir.
Okay, so now you have the information we discussed at the meeting last week. So, is there anybody who'd like to talk on this?
Yes. So do you have 2 full-time employees ready to go?
No. We have one. We can't, and we've talked about this before, we can't get people to work part-time at the rate. They can go to Popeyes and make more money.
And good chicken.
Hey, amen. I don't miss many meals, you can tell.
So that would be, and like I say, this is something that is not directly tied to Baker Tilly. It's, of course, the wages might vary some, and the cost might vary some, depending on what happens to Baker Tilly, but it is not an increase in cost. It's a minimum pay. So then again, whatever the salary can.
President Thacker, I make a motion to table salary ordinance 2023-03.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to table 2023-03. Any further discussion? Motion made and seconded. Please.
I just would like to make sure on this one too, which, we're, with Baker Tilly, I feel like we're within reach So this is one that I do think when we get that, we need to make a decision on at that same time, especially if they're having a hard time hiring part-time. So by tabling, I just want to make sure and clarify that there's a chance we'll look at it within that same time period.
And all that requires is to call it off the table. Is that correct? Counsel? Okay, well, that's even, that way it'll be in front of us.
That way, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, is there any further discussion? Motion made and seconded. Yes. Seconded. Motion made, second. Any further discussion? Not?
So, go ahead, President. Absolutely. So is the understanding that this is brought up again next month? Is that,
Yeah.
can we table unlimited times, or what's the situation? I'm trying to think ahead a little bit, because Baker Tilly hasn't been very expedient in their returns, right?
That is true.
We wanted to track it back for purposes of retroactively giving come back up on a monthly basis, or set it at a specific time.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're clear on it. Thank you.
Motion been made, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. There again, with Mr. Newman, salary ordinance 2023 4 ROC 2023-01 election board salary increase. That is on page, what we have on our page 43. It also was addressed in our meeting, and it was it had the numbers on there. We have them here it would be, the request is to amend the clerk rate to $9,000 annual, the chief deputy clerk rate to $7,500 annually, amended the member rate as $5,000, and amend the proxy rate at $2,800 is what we have in front of us. So if there's any questions for Mr. Newman, please ask those. Anybody?
Proxy rate was $1,400 each, right? Is it $2,800 total for $1,400 for DM and Republican? Is that right?
That's correct.
Just make sure I understand it right. Wasn't $2,800 each?
Yes.
And do you know, do you have an idea what the averages are around the state?
I think the request was to increase the proxy rate from 1,400 to 2,800 for each Democrat and Republican town.
The first letter, I'm sorry, you weren't here last week when I discussed it with clerk.
That's
There
the
was
next
an
question,
issue
yes.
on the member rate and proxy rate on the letter, and I confirmed that with him, Councilmember Loudermilk, what they were currently being paid. And they are currently being paid the 1,400, so it would go to 28.
Okay.
And the member rate was 25 and would go to 5.
Thank you.
Just for clarification.
Thank you. Okay, so we have in front of us some information Mr. Newman shared with us. Councilman Thies, you have a question?
No, I had just asked, and it seems like he added some information. We had received a comparison of the different counties in the email, and I was just asking if that's what it was, but I think he's made some additional notes, so I'm just kind of looking at those.
I tried to give you more information to give
No,
you a
I
better
appreciate
education
that.
decision.
And from what I understand, President Thacker, this, and maybe to the rest of the council, this, the election board, since those are different types of positions, that is not impacted by Baker Tilly.
Not at all.
Correct?
That is
Correct.
correct. Baker Tilly, we did not commission them to do this. As the discussion was, and I think this is a good time to say it, somebody asked about manpower per positions, and that was not commissioned to do with Baker Tilly either. So, but this is, this was not in the Baker Tilly study.
And isn't this a position that hasn't been upgraded for years?
24 that we could go back and find, and after that, we couldn't track it. So it's at least been 24 years is what we were told. And to your point, we have meetings just like the council. We have different things we have to attend just like the council. This is not something that we take lightly, and we need as quality of personnel as we can get on that board. Keep in mind, one's appointed by the Republican Party chairman and one's appointed by the Democrat Party chairman. The clerk's automatically the secretary of the board regardless, as chief deputy, and they have two proxies that sit on it.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Newman? Not, accept the motion.
I also had Jackson actually did this for us. He reached out to every county. I also had him highlight in blue where they had election directors like I proposed to the council.
Yes,
And that's a lot more expensive.
yes.
I just would like, with the council, and I understand it as far as making a motion, I always want to clarify before I do things. If we make a motion, we can still discuss the different rates and values afterwards, after.
If you make a motion, your motion would be either at this time to accept the salary ordinance as proposed, or you could make it with an amendment to each of those values, or you could make the motion to table it, or you could make a motion to deny it. All those are on the table. So at this point, if you wanted to say that you're for increase in salary ordinance, but you want to do a different value of those, you just need to state that in your motion. But the request was as stated on page 43.
And I'm trying to find, so these are the new numbers. I just want to look at the old numbers.
Here's the old numbers that
Thank you.
we had this from.
Switchbacks.
Yeah, so, but what happened was when we got the old numbers, this was really 14 on this one, and that was.
Council member fees, it should just be half,
Okay.
is what they were.
Thank you.
Okay, I got,
Yes.
you can't raise the clerk's salary because as an elected official, an elected official's salary can't be raised during the year.
This doesn't fall under my salary. I'm given an additional check for that.
And I had a discussion with Mr. Wright about this, because in the capacity it's not as the capacity as clerk, it's as the capacity. There again is, I asked, because I didn't know that answer either. So I asked Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright, would you like to comment on that, our conversation?
What Jim is referring to is Indiana Code 36-2-5-13, which provides, except as provided in subsection D, the compensation of an elected official, an elected county officer may not be changed in the year for which it is fixed. I mean, that's what the statute provides. The exception in subsection D I don't know, I mean, I trust what Brad is saying about, I know his status as an elected, as the chair of the election board is statutory as well. So I can't definitively say that what he's requesting is in his capacity as an elected official as opposed to his statutory obligation to serve on the election board as the elected clerk of Vigo County. But it's definitely a question that the State Board of Accounts and DLGFs do.
I just kind of sharing my thoughts on this. I do feel like we need to look at this and be in line with some of the other counties. The amount of time that they put in and the importance of it is very critical, and I commend that, because there, I know, are sometimes some rough nights and situations. I would like to make sure that we have it absolutely perfect before we decide on that. So I would consider making a motion to table this to get that verification before the next meeting. I guess so. So I make a motion to table salary ordinance 2023-04 until further clarification.
Second.
Made second, all those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Salary ordinance 2023-5, ROC 2023-4, juvenile justice center salary increase. Get on page 4. Mr. Romano.
Mr. President, members of the council, we discussed this in depth last week. I think this is a little bit different than the salary ordinance request you've seen so far, because this is not an arbitrary request for an increase based on what I might think that they're worth. This is a parity increase that I think slipped through the cracks over the past year when the jail staff received an increase, primarily for retention purposes and hiring purposes, so they could fill their needs. But at the same time, the juvenile center correctional staff was left behind. And so this isn't something that, has very much, if anything, to do with Baker Tilly. It has everything to do with getting parity, which is we've had in years past with the correctional staff in the jail. Currently, the jail staff makes more than $2 an hour per position, and has had that ability for a year. And so any more delays is going to cause even more falling behind. As the letter that I sent you indicated, we've lost 13 of 16 employees. One just recently left and went to another agency for a $1 an hour raise. And so I would have thought that if we could have paid the same, that we would have been able to retain that employee. She was pretty good, actually. The other thing that this letter requests is, which I guess maybe it's a different. Yeah, it's the next one, but I'll go ahead and address it now, which is the stipend. A couple of years ago, we gave a stipend for a training officer of $500, and since that time, the amount of workload that has come up to that person has been pretty extensive, and with COVID hitting and some of the distance education that we're required to do now through Corrections 1, we need someone to kind of track that. Many of the standards that we have, not many, all of the standards we have now been put into law. So they're in Indiana Administrative Code. Instead of just a guideline, they're actually something we must follow. And training is a major part of that. And then the other stipend is for a person that will do all of our purchasing and track the inventory. As you can imagine, with a correctional facility, we've got a lot of inventory, whether it's clothing, toothbrushes, toothpaste, things like that. That's just a small example of the things that person has to track every day. So we're asking for a small stipend for them as well. The thing with this request is that the council budget committee saw it fit to reduce our budget by $300,000 and take that money from our non-reverting fund. So the county general fund saved $300,000 with the juvenile justice center budget for this year. And so we're just asking for some of that revenue to come back, to be able to fund this. And that's kind of why we're bringing it up.
And everybody, for our attention here, we have to address, I appreciate you talking about both those issues, we just have to address them separately.
Yeah, I understand that.
And so with that, I was asked to do a little research between the last meeting and this meeting and how to have that information. The only thing I'd say that the fact by the utility study is not everybody has seen that study to see that you were correct, that there was parity. You gave an increase to the jailers due to a federal lawsuit. And when we did that, we created sorry about that. You'll be the only one that says they didn't hear me. So, I apologize. So what I said is that with the Baker-Tilly study, once they were able to see that, they would see that there was parity, and then there is, on this new study, you are classified, same title, same pay as the correction officers. So what you're asking for is they just haven't seen that yet because we haven't been given the updated Baker-Tilly study. So I do agree with what your statement was, it is different than the other ones as increases. It is going to be a parity, and it is, the timing of it is all that is different at this time. So, and then that is on the salary increase that you asked for in 2023-5. The stipend and retention bonus is under 2023-6. And
We can address that separately.
yeah, we
obviously.
have to. We have to take two different votes. So
I'm
the
just
first
trying to go
one-
over the letter that you guys got, it kind of addressed
Yeah,
all at the same time.
and last time with the letter that we had was in our packet was on page 32 that addresses the differential between those. And that was for a total of $91,444. And that's if anybody has any further questions for Mr. Loudermilk on that, good time to ask that. And it's on our current page 44 of today's packet.
Ready for a motion?
Yes, I would accept the motion.
I move to approve salary ordinance 2023-05.
2023-05, motion has been made. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
With this in mind, how will this impact when we get Baker-Tilly? Is this gonna cause some chaos, or confusion? Because that'll just potentially be a month or two
Yeah,
from
so
now.
the Baker-Tilly study, it all has to do with what does the council do, when do they make it? Maybe they're one of, Councilman Loudermilk already asked me if I know the 81 names. I don't. That's because I haven't got the study yet. And they may be one of those 80, they may be some of those 81. I don't know that. And, but what I do know is that if anybody who is making above low at this point, and we only address the low, it is no impact at all. If they are making above low, they still stay at that wage, no matter when we implement it.
But we will know that.
Yeah, and that's what I said, told Mr. Loudermilk, that you guys haven't seen that report yet at this time. Or just that.
Well, and I agree, there is disparity. Timing wise, like you said, it's just kind of an awkward situation.
No, I mean, it's made and seconded, we just have to vote.
I just have
And
some
then if it fails, then there would need to be, but if you make a motion on it and it fails at this point, and then that same motion comes back, then there's that timeline that we're dealing with.
Mr. President, I withdraw the motion.
So I want to make sure we do this right on withdrawing the motion that's been made and seconded. So if the motion has been made and seconded, and the one who makes the motion can withdraw it, does the second have to agree to do?
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear on that. So the motion has now been withdrawn. I would accept a motion other than that motion.
President Thacker, I motion to table salary ordinance 2023-05.
Motion been made and seconded to table. Again, it has to have 2/3 majority. Any discussion on that? Okay, if no discussion, motion made, second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Salary ordinance 2023-6, ROC 2023-4, Juvenile Justice Center stipend and retention bonus. That was on the original letter from Mr. Loudermilk on page 33 of our packet, and it is page 45 of tonight's packet with those, the ones that you talked about, the training director, logistics, supply coordinator, and retention bonus.
Mr. President, members of the council, I'm happy to answer any questions to address this. This is again, an attempt to become a parity with those folks that do similar type jobs, and as a matter of fact, it's not even parity. The retention bonus was given to dispatchers and was given to jail staff, and there was no consideration for any of the people at the juvenile center. And so, I don't know how that happened or why we were left outside in the cold, but, you know, maybe if we'd had that retention bonus, I wouldn't have had to hire and train 13 additional people this year and pay for the outfitting and all of the things that we've had to do.
That we did discuss that last week about the cost of that. And so we have that calculation of the impact of that on our page 34 of our packet from last week. So,
From my understanding, just to clarify, are stipends considered in Baker Tilly, or is that a separate issue? It's just salary, right?
that's my understanding. Compensation is, the stipends is not calculated in that. I didn't see it, what I've seen.
Okay.
But we can ask that as well.
Mr. Loudermilk, in your time as director, has the training requirements from the state increased for your staff?
Yes. But
Okay.
what has also increased is the fact that what was a suggestion is now law. So what one could have fluffed earlier can't be done now.
Right, we're seeing the same thing in education too.
Yeah,
I
and so,
understand.
under Indiana Administrative Code, I think it's like Title VIII, they've added, as similar to the building code, electrical code, and the fire code, they've added this code that deals with, and with the juvenile setting. And you know, everyone here that's going to approach you is begging for their staff. They don't want to lose them, they want to keep them. They're difficult to come by. You know, people that took an oath of service shouldn't take an oath of poverty. And so that, just because we choose to teach or serve and protect or whatever it is we do, doesn't mean we should make in lower scale. And so many of the things that we have to do is mandated by law. You know, continuing education hours, you know, things like that. And so to try to entice good employees to do that is very difficult. You know, I couldn't come to you and ask for an additional employee for training. So this is as someone who manages a shift, and then in addition to that, also manages a computer-based training forum for Corrections 1, puts local training that we do, as well as national-based training, and then satisfies those requirements for standards that the Department of Corrections has. As far as you know, that person's here, Jeff McCullough, or he was here. And so the other person, Shelley Boyd, is here, if you want to raise your hand. So she does all of our inventory and all of our supply chain tracking. And without that, you know, it'd be an awful bad day if you ran out of toilet paper. And so, you know, to be able to manage those things and get those things ordered and make sure that they're, you know, in place is pretty important. And she's been doing that without any type of stipend for the last year. And so, you know, that's kind of why I asked that. And as far as the retention bonuses, I'll be very frank with you, I didn't even know they existed until the budget was passed. You know, I try to stay in my lane, which is over there. So when I realized that some folks in, you know, public sector safety sector were getting some retention bonuses, and I'm losing people left and right and can't offer them anything except good luck, I thought it was important maybe that we ask for the same type of thing. So, you can amend this, you can adopt it, you can, do with it as you wish, but that's why I brought those three things forward for those people.
Thank you.
Further questions? Mr. Lerman? Councilman Lerman?
So with the, those two individuals you just spoke of, the train director and the logistics and supply coordinator,
Sure.
are those positions that were submitted to Baker Tilly as new positions?
New? No.
No?
They were just stipends. They're just current detention officers. So the training person, actually the director was, the train director, yes, was, put in as a, this isn't an extra position, but we would like for them to get some type of a, stipend or increase. It's, I don't know how, because I've not seen it, I don't know how they were going to handle that. Most of the time it was through stipends, and we told them that. It started with a $500 one a couple of years ago, and we just see the need to increase it. The new one, quite frankly, just came about with the realization after a year of kind of watching the things that this person did in addition to their normal duties. We realized that their job duties and functions had changed so much. We didn't want to come back to the council to ask for a pay increase. And of course, with not knowing this summer before I think we should have brought it before the budget. But because everything was kind of in disarray, not knowing when the study was going to come out, I decided to wait. And then when we still didn't get anything back from Baker Tilly, then I just said, well, we need to address this. And so that's why I brought the second person up and just made them equal in stipend.
So these would, the proposal is an annual stipend, correct? Not
Yes.
just one time.
Yeah, and I don't know how they, I don't know if you need to split it like other employees do, or if it's all at one. I don't know if there's a certain time they pay it.
It's just split amongst their compensation. Okay?
So it's not like a lump sum?
No, the retention bonus is the 6 months. Their stipends, like everybody else's, are paid on their pay. So you take that, divide it by 26 pays.
I didn't know that. I do have one question. It's more about the previous ordinance than this one, but it still is germane to the issue. If the council sees fit, and I know that it was tabled, there was no real indication of the time frame to which it's tabled. Now, obviously, there are several people that work at the detention center that are here in support of trying to, provide a better living for themselves, but also myself would like to be able to be in attendance when those issues are addressed. And so, is it tabled for 30 days? Is it tabled till the next meeting? Is
It
tabled-
automatically comes back up at the next meeting. So it'll be on the next agenda. for next
Sunshine
month.
or voting?
It'll be on both.
Both. Okay.
Yep.
Do I need to resubmit another letter or ask permission to be
No.
on the agenda?
No.
Just automatically put there?
Yep.
Okay.
And to clarify with that, and just like we have done with the others, we just want to make sure, since it's so close and we're getting the information now, and hopefully in the next few weeks, even more clarity coming in. We just want to make sure that when we do this, we've been, so patient and frustrated for so long that when we get it, I want to do it right.
Absolutely. And the other question I have is, we said the word retroactive.
It
So-
could be something we can consider.
It's on the table.
Right.
I mean, so would that be that they would get paid effective January 1 and then get a lump sum or something
Possibly.
like that?
Depending on how we
If
work
you
the
guys
motion.
decide to address it?
Yeah,
Yep.
depending on what the committee.
I didn't know what that word
council
meant, that's
decides.
why I was just
And
curious.
I think that would be, I heard it in the context of the ones that are below low, but it could be however they apply it.
I wanted to let you know that we're not asking for any retroactiveness. If you decide to do that, that's great. We just want to be paid fair with people that do the job we do.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, that no one does the job we do. We watch kids every 15 minutes, must track their movement. When a kid gets out of his cell, we have to be beside them. That doesn't happen at the jail. there's a lot more things that we do than you could ever imagine.
I have a question for Mr. Wright real quick.
Yes.
And for the rest of the council members, what was our contract with Baker Tilly time-wise? Was there a deadline originally? And if there was a deadline, are they in breach of contract where we can send them a letter that says?
We can absolutely send a letter. I'm not privy to the Baker Tilly contract. I was not around
Okay.
when that was executed, but I can familiarize myself with it and consult the council on anything they want to put out to them on complying with the original terms that were agreed to, but I'm not read up on that currently.
Okay. I mean, obviously, I'd like to put all this behind us.
Sure.
And so,
I will get a copy of that from the auditor's office and.
okay.
Councilman Latimer said that Kara Wright would have a copy of that.
Karen.
And I think what we ran into last year, because this was so painful, I think what we saw was they had little caveats in there that they were making strides and making progress, and that's what they were leaning on, not so much a drop dead date.
Sure.
And that's kind of what they hung their hat on. That's,
Well, whatever the prerogative regarding, increasing the incentive for them to finish, whatever direction the council would like to take, I'm happy to pursue that.
Okay, so back to the question. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Loudermilk or have a desire to make a motion at this time?
I'll make a motion to table salary ordinance 2023-06.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion's been made and second to table salary ordinance 2023-6. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Not any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to salary ordinance 2023-07. It's the coroner add a chief deputy coroner position. It is on our page 43, and it has been, I turned too many pages there, sorry. 46. And one of the things that we had a little discussion on this last time, and if the auditor's department can correct me, initially we had it as a part-time deputy coroner position to a part-time chief deputy coroner position, but we've been informed that would be a full-time position with benefits? Or is there one of those
I've been consulting with
exist?
the attorney because,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not familiar
it
with
was
that.
under our understanding that it was brought down that they just have those part-time deputy coroners, and they just wanted to make him kind of the chief of those deputy coroners. You're gonna make him full-time, then that's benefits, everything else, and then I guess a schedule.
And now then, is a full-time chief deputy, since there's not one, is that a position that would be created and it would be up to us if it's a full-time, part-time?
I have never, and not to say that it does not exist, but I have never come across in any other Indiana jurisdiction a part-time chief deputy anything. So I do not know of any classification for a chief deputy position that is part-time.
Okay.
So, that's the clarification that I was looking to get, from, any state agency that has heard of such a thing. But the, trepidation that I have on a part-time chief deputy that means they're responsible for the office in the absence of the elected official. That's what the chief deputy designation
that's
is there for. That connotates 7 hour, 35-hour work week here, like every other chief deputy so, I will continue to search for any, support in other,
Mike, let me say, the irony of it is that's what he does now.
and Vicki,
That's what makes it
you know,
crazy.
I've known Curtis a long time.
But before him, I mean, Dr. Core and Kevin Mays, that's what they did, and he was the chief deputy.
Who was?
Kevin Mays. We had the chief deputy, and when Kevin retired, then they didn't have a chief deputy, never have named one since then.
I never knew Kevin Mays was the
Yeah.
chief deputy coroner.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that he wasn't, you know.
Well, But he was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't trying to muddy the water, but I know that was just something that got brought up. And so when we think about that, I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that the number that is on page 46 is for that proposed dollar amount, but that does not reflect, and I don't think Cheryl at the time had that reflected of the benefit structure on. Yeah, you'd have to add that into it, yes. So I just making it so before we address this, so at this time is we can ask questions, or we can, whatever you guys want to do.
Cheryl, can you have those numbers to us by next meeting? Okay. President Thacker, I'd like to make a motion to table salary ordinance 2023-07.
I'd like to second it.
Okay, motion been made and second. And if there's any discussion at this time, anybody discuss? Motion been made and second to table, sure I'm on the right one, 2023-7, adding chief deputy coroner position. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. So now we are on the additional appropriation, 2023-01, lit correctional rehab facilities, new locks and audio. I saw Mr. Fell here earlier. If anybody has any questions for Mr. Fell, there was some, we did discuss this at the meeting last week. And if anybody has additional questions, or if they choose to make a motion at this time.
President Thacker? Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve additional appropriation ordinance. Oh, sorry.
Okay, sorry about that. Had both of them out there.
So what was this for exactly?
So this was for the locks and equipment. The last budget was minimized because the belief of going into a new building, they wouldn't have a need for any replacement for locks and for new equipment, but that has not proved to be correct, that they have had a need, so they're coming back and asking for less than what was on last year's budget, but still a ask of, which is on page 47, which was $35,000.
This was for damaged locks.
Yeah, so, real quick, the budget, a couple years ago was much higher. We made a request for, I believe, 50% for 2023. It was taken down to zero. So now we're asking basically 50% of that, so I guess a quarter. And just an example, like our booking camera right now is broke, and it's no longer in warranty. That's just one example. We're in need of 2 tasers for jail staff. There's no taser line item for jail staff. It's a variety. It can be new equipment, locks, audios can be used for a variety of things. Those are just a couple quick examples.
So the camera at the new facility, is it under warranty?
It was, but it's expired at this point.
And warranty doesn't cover probably
And
damage.
like there was an inmate that had an issue in the padded cell. He somehow was able to break like a bolt by damaging the cell, and that's not something that's covered in a warranty if an inmate breaks something. So if an inmate breaks a camera, that's not covered in a warranty.
You said tasers?
Yeah, I spoke with Captain Funk today. As of right now, he's in need of 2 tasers, just as an example, and we don't have any dollars in new equipment.
So we don't have any items in particular outside that camera that.
The issue with the padded cell I just mentioned, the couple tasers I just mentioned, those are the 3 that I'm aware of specifically. And I know that there's been a couple things that they have also replaced since we moved into the facility back in November. I could get you a list of what those are.
Have tasers in the past been purchased out of commissary?
For the jail, my experience is with the commissary, it's used as supplement, not full funding. So historically, they've used new equipment to buy tasers, and with the line item at 0, they can't do that.
No, I get that, but
I mean,
commissary funds can't.
oh, yeah,
cannot be-
absolutely, they
yeah.
could be, yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So we have a request before us of $35,000, and we don't, at this point in time, you don't have $35,000 worth of new equipment or locks or audio to purchase, correct?
No, we do not. And I think the urgency, like, again, with the booking camera, they had to go to the old jail to get some parts off of that to make the camera work. Obviously, you know, we can come back and ask for additional appropriations when something breaks, we need to buy something else. It's just unfortunate that the line item is zero. There's nothing there that we can go out and just buy something today. When something does break in the jail, we'd have to wait until the next council meeting, and, you know, it could be 4, 6, 8 weeks before something gets approved. It would be nice to have at least some amount in those line items.
Councilman Thies, did you have a question as well? Okay. Councilman Norris, this
I,
time?
I do have a question. So, when you talk about waiting 6, 8 weeks for that stuff to come back, do you have to wait to use your commissary fund money?
No, we can use that anytime we want.
Okay.
Does the council have any other questions for Officer Fell? Would he accept the motion this time?
I move we approve additional appropriation ordinance 2023-01.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Motion been made and second. Any additional questions? Discussion? No additional questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, let's go to roll call vote. Mr. Bramble, would you assist us in a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Loudermilk,
Nay.
Ms. Alsop,
Aye.
Ms. Wager,
Aye.
Mr. Thacker,
Aye.
Ms. Thies,
Aye.
Mr. Norris, Mr. Thompson.
Nay.
Motion carries. Okay, salary ordinance 2023-8, staff increase. Jay. This is on page 48. Mr. Officer Fell addressed this on last week. If you have any questions for him at this time, be appropriate. Councilman Thies?
This is to get us up to, we had talked about this number for quite a while. This is to get us up to what is recommended, full staffing, is that correct? Or-
I didn't hear President Thacker. Is this for the jail we're talking about?
Yes, this
Yeah,
is for
this
the
is the
12
additional
officers.
correctional
Correct.
officers.
Correct. It's based on the jail study, that's correct.
I think the word is ordered. This is what is ordered.
Ordered, yes.
I would make sure we're clear on that. It's not ordered, it's recommended by the consultant. It's recommended.
And the judge is rather adamant at the last meeting.
I haven't attended one of those meetings, and I asked Officer Fell if he had anybody that could speak to this, that's been in direct relations with this, that would be beneficial to the council's information.
I do have, Attorney Pierre, if
Reddick's is
you'd like
here.
to speak to him and ask him specific questions on that.
Do we have to pay him if he comes up and talks?
I don't know.
Oh.
Good evening, council. I think with the lawsuit, with the class action that's been going on since 2016, since Summer Joe was entered back in 2019, we have periodic status conferences with Magistrate Magda Stinson. We had one probably back in December when she asked where we're at as far as staffing numbers, which I think you see are included in the monthly reports. And at that point, we disclosed what the latest staffing analysis was, which for the new facility, 12 new correctional officers need to be hired. And her question to me was, are you going to do it voluntarily, or are you going to make me order it? So there hasn't been an order as of yet, but I think if it's not passed, it will eventually be an order of the court that those 12 positions be added, whether it's now or in a month or 2 months. I can't say what that's going to be, but I assume Ken Fall from the ACLU follows these type of things, so if it's not approved, then I assume he'll put some pressure on the judge, who will schedule a settlement conference, and then we'll have another discussion about that.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for?
Yes.
For Mr. Frederick?
Mr. Frederick? So that staffing analysis is based on what? Direct supervision? Is that how it's set up?
I mean, it was set up however, I'm not sure what the terminology is. It was just based on the number, on the overall capacity of the jail. I think he'd seen what it was and what his analysis was, how many people it's going to take. So I'm assuming it's direct supervision, but I can't say that for a fact.
Because it seems like, as you said, we've been dealing with this for quite a few years now. It seems like over the years, when Mr. Wilson has provided these studies, it was based on direct supervision. And it's been my understanding during those discussions we've had over the past 6+ years that not every facility in Indiana, probably not many, have direct supervision. Is that fair?
I don't know what the other facilities do. I really don't. I assume
That was
some
my
do.
understanding. Because I know we fought hard to get to the current levels, because I think past councils for many years, and you would have been part of those discussions before for many years, wouldn't provide sheriff viewing with the additional jailers until at the end of maybe 2018, does that sound right?
I'm not sure if we ever had the correct number until the numbers were added last year. I
Right,
think it was
well-
always understaffed. Now, by how many, I don't know. I mean, here's the way I look at it is that the court is basically doing it for safety precautions. And obviously, what we've dealt with over the last couple of years is the number of COVID-related lawsuits. And there were just a number of orders issued on Friday where the judge was critical of the fact that obviously part of the reason we had a COVID outbreak in December of 2020 because we have an overcrowded, antiquated jail, which there's nothing we could do about it at that time. But I think what the court's philosophy is, and I think what Mr. Wilson's philosophy was, is those 12 additional people need to be hired not only to maintain safety of the staff that's currently there, but to maintain and have the safety of the inmates that are there. And again, that was part of the criticism the court has had, is that because you're understaffed, that's possibly why there was a COVID-19 outbreak and why we've had some of these other suits concerning injuries or things of that nature.
Are we still providing status updates on a monthly basis?
Yes.
I don't think have you seen one lately?
I think they were forwarded to Calissa up until then, and I think I've been sending them to Mike since then.
I don't think I've seen one for a couple months.
No, part of the normal routine is once I file it with the court, then one was sent to Calissa, now it's sent to Mike, and another one was sent to Tammy in the commissioner's office.
I just want to thank Mr. Frederick for his patience. I know it's been a long meeting and waiting for this moment to address. If we are concerned about getting those reports, could we have Tammy send those to us from the commissioner's office? Okay, just to verify.
I always get ones.
Just
Okay, so, at this time, is there anyone have any additional questions for
I'll get it.
Officer Phil? Not, I would accept the motion this time.
You want a motion?
Yeah, yes.
I move that we approve salary ordinance 2023-08.
And I will second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion before we vote?
I've got a question. Do we not, the pay per hour, are we gonna go opposite of what Baker Tilly study says? I know they're in comparison, but I haven't seen this study. I don't know what that dollar amount should be.
That's the current amount, and right now, the current amount is what we're doing until the Baker-Tilly study is adopted, and it's less than the council can decide to raise it too low, or they could decide to raise it. So, I mean, that's the current rate, so that's what we have to approve it for at this time. May I understand? If the Baker-Tilly study is impactful of that, then we'd have to adjust it, do an appropriation.
And this is the loan exception.
Yeah, this
Loan
is the
exception.
only exception. This is the only one so far that you guys have entertained. Now, I would ask that, since I think this vote, I'm not gonna call for a voice vote, I'm gonna call for a roll call. And if you could, Mr. Bramble, could I go, as the
President, could I vote last? Thank you. So no further questions, I'll call for a roll.
I have
Oh,
one.
yeah, okay, very good. I meant to ask once already, thanks. Go ahead. Councilman Ladner.
All the current budgeted jail positions, all the employees that are working in those positions, are they all working in the jail right now? Or are there people working in other locations outside the jail?
There's a couple outside the jail which are on this list coming up.
It's on the next appropriation that we requested.
So how, so
Security.
3 building security?
Two building security and a secretarial position.
So right now, we're using 2 jailer positions as building security.
That's correct.
So even if we were at full capacity with our jail officer hires, we still wouldn't have the full amount working at the jail currently.
Well, I would beg to differ. I think it's important to understand that just because those people are in those positions, first of all, doesn't mean they would automatically work in the jail. If you told someone you had to switch and go do another job, they may not do that job anymore and decide to go somewhere else. Second being that one of those building security positions does do transports for the jail, as I'm sure I made the accounts for last week, but the sheriff's responsible for the courts. We keep getting demands from the courts as far as, providing security. The annex, obviously, the employees here are wanting security. Community corrections, 4 years ago, I stated when the x-ray machine was added to the front entrance, we needed personnel to man that. Excuse me, we've been asked for building security for the last 4 years straight, and we're just not getting it. So we're trying to clean it up. Now that we're finally, we were always lagging behind with jail staff. We were never fully staffed. Right now, I believe we're about 65 or 68, or 66 out of the 68. Obviously fluctuates, you lose somebody else comes in and takes their spot, so you're always maybe down 1 or 2. So we've never really had that issue of being fully staffed. It's not taking away people from the jail.
But 65 of those, 2 of
65
those
or 66.
65, so if there's 65, 2 of those are working in buildings as security and not working at the jail.
I would venture to say that if I told those people tomorrow they're gonna go work in the jail, likely they probably would turn the resignation. The jail's not a really popular place to work. It's hard to find people to work in the jail.
I'm familiar, but what I'm trying to get to is the fact that we have 2 people working as jailers, not working at the jail. And we're talking about getting the numbers to full capacity in terms of what the study suggests.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions? Any other questions? Mr. Auditor, would you do a roll call, please? And this is for a motion made second to accept the 12 positions on salary ordinance 2023-08.
Mr. Loudermilk,
Nay.
Ms. Alsop,
Aye.
Ms. Wager,
Aye.
Ms. Thies,
Aye.
Mr. Norris, Mr. Thompson,
Nay.
Mr. Thacker.
Aye. Motion carries. Salary ordinance 2023-09. 2023-09 is the additional staffing that we were just talking about. And on that, it's on our page 49. Officer Fell addressed this at the last week's meeting, but if anybody has any questions and would like to ask him, please do it this time.
Is this for the building security, just so I'm?
This is the one for, it says adding a building security staff 3.
Yep.
And this was at civilian pole A at 1868 per hour.
So just so I'm, maybe just to summarize, but as I was just speaking about, 2 of those are to move those positions back to the jail. They would have to be new persons hired. The third is, again, a position that doesn't directly impact the jail, in my opinion, but again, we've had a lot of requests to maintain security here at this annex, and we simply just cannot do that with the building security staff we currently have. Even with the staff we have, we're constantly pulling patrol deputies off the street to work the courthouse or the annex, wherever it might be. Detectives, we're pulling resources from all over to cover the different county buildings. We cover 4 county buildings. This building right here, we do not have to cover by law because there's no court in here, but we would like to provide security as often as we can, if not all the time, but we simply can't do that with the manpower we currently have.
Yes, absolutely. Any questions for us?
So the security staff that you said, that kind of with the jailer, so would they be working the entrance of the new jail? Is that what they would be shifting to, or are they still?
No. So, we have security staff at the courthouse, community corrections, juvenile center, and this building here.
Okay.
We added a person to the courthouse simply because when we left the courthouse, or I'm sorry, when we left 201 Cherry
You're
Street,
right, not there.
we're not next door. So we wanted to put a fourth person in there. You got two in the entry point. And when we're fully staffed, we try to have two floating around the 4 floors of the courthouse, but that's kind of rare when we can do that as well, again, because of low staffing numbers. They would not be, that position would not be at the entrance of the jail, if that's what you're asking now.
Okay, because I'm just looking, because this is a different salary than, I mean, hourly rate
Yeah,
than
it's not,
jailers.
building security is not paid at this point in time,
Okay.
the same as jail staff,
Okay.
yeah.
And then, I think that's it. So this is 3 additional staff, or?
Correct.
You did say, I want to make sure we're clear on this, because when we got the ARPA study, originally we had a request in under ARPA for building security here. And that then they decided to reallocate how they were requesting. But what the intent was, with you asking for this, that is one of those building securities, even though it's not required by law, but the intent is to man this full-time instead of just in and out. And then if the commissioners choose to, it's up to them if they buy a screen and do that, that is up to the commissioner. So, I mean, that's not on the sheriff's department.
Correct. And to answer your question, yes, that's our full intention. Now, obviously, if we got 6 building security people calling sick tomorrow, that's an
Right.
issue for us. But yes, 100%, that would
Snow
be our
day.
plan to staff
Just
this.
call Tammy.
Yeah.
Chris is gonna man the security though when that happens, whatever it takes.
Any additional questions from council?
On that, civilian, spot there, there was something you talked about that last week. What was that about?
The next one.
Oh, it's the next one?
Yeah, Secretary.
Never mind.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready to rock and roll?
So, on this
Motion?
one, what we have at hand is
Emotion?
salary ordinance. Yes, I accept the motion on salary ordinance 2023-10.
Council President, may I-
-9. I'm sorry. Yes.
May I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely. I was just going to say that's the one we were on, so go ahead.
Are you using reserve deputies at all for building security?
Sure. We have, historically, we used to have about 25 to 30 reserve deputies. Now we're 10 to 12. Again, people don't want to volunteer to do this job like they once did, so we struggle there. And with reserves, you kind of take them where you can get them. A lot of times they'll fill in patrol spots. But have they ever worked building security? Yes, they have. Do they on a regular basis? No.
So no luck there with them at all?
It's hard. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's hard to get them to work the buildings.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Officer Fell? Would accept the motion.
Motion to approve salary ordinance 2023-09.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second it.
Motion made second. Any further discussion? Okay, again, Mr. Bramble, if you would ask for a roll call vote.
Mr. Loudermilk,
Nay.
Ms. Alsop,
Aye.
Ms. Swager,
Aye.
Ms. Thies,
Aye.
Mr. Norris,
Nay.
Mr. Thompson,
Nay.
Mr. Thacker.
Aye. Motion carries. So, we are going to salary ordinance 2023-10, and this is the sheriff ad secretary position. This is one that was discussed last week. If you could walk us through that,
Sure.
what's been transpiring with this.
So this position's been paid out of the jail for probably about 8 to 10 years, going back to the previous sheriff's administration. Again, never really being fully staffed, so it wasn't an issue. Now that we're starting to get to the point where fully staffed, we wanted to move the position back into the jail. So it kind of is the same, or I mean, not the same, but similar to building security. It's not a new there's already a person there. They've been working there for, again, a number of years. It's not a new position, it's just a reclassification, I suppose.
Any additional questions for Council Fellow? Yes, Councilman Thies.
So is this a shift mainly just from the fund it's coming from, or is this additional increase in hourly rate?
No,
with that?
actually, it is, I believe it's a decrease in the hourly rate by, I'm not sure the exact dollar amount, which this employee that's in the position, she knows it. She was aware when she took the position that it could happen.
Okay.
Again, we just want to reclassify and put all the positions in the jail where they should be.
Okay, and remind me again, like exactly, I know you've explained this to me, but we've had a lot of stuff go through. So this is a position that was being paid for out of what budget?
Jail.
Jail, and now we're moving it to the sheriff's.
Secretary, yes.
Secretary, okay. So it's not a rehire, it's not a hiring, it's not a raise, it's
It's
just
definitely not a raise.
pretty
and-
much just a shift.
Yes.
If you want me to clarify something on that,
Yeah,
they do know they are taking a decrease in pay.
Right.
It was in the jail, it has been since Sheriff Ewing. They've worked for the sheriff as a secretary, but was in the jail position. They are aware they're taking a decrease in pay, so it's shifting it from the jail to the sheriff's department, trying to streamline and clean all this up.
How much of a decrease is there in pay?
It will be, like
$4,000, I think it's about about a year, I mean, not per hour.
well, she's gonna go from 2080 to 1881, so
And
almost a $2.
she's
an hour.
aware and comfortable with this?
Yes.
Yes. We had this chat.
I hate taking somebody when they.
So, any other questions? If not, is there a second motion?
I think in line with that, we have the Baker Tilly, and this is a shifting, I just want to make sure where she's gonna fall on the staffing and stuff, so I move to table salary ordinance 2023-10.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Yes.
I think that's an appropriate thing to do.
Yeah, I do too.
It's
Yep.
in light of us tabling all these others, and
We have
I hate approving something that's gonna take.
we're not getting any less of a meeting here, this, so if, any other discussion, comment on, motion been made, seconded to table?
Could I make a comment just real
Yeah,
quick?
oh, yes.
I would concur that, we don't want to take away anyone's salary, but at the same time, we feel that it's the right thing to do to stand up here and clean up these positions and
Yeah.
get them where they need to be.
And-
And short of, leaving salaries where they currently stand, there's no other option.
Then you get to come back next month.
Yeah.
That's a plus. So,
It should be shorter.
motion been made, seconded to table. All those in favor, voice vote, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. That's all we have for you.
We get, the corporal, is that on here? No? We talked about, no? Okay.
I don't have it here on my ordinances. Was it part of the,
What is it?
I see it here. It's on page 43.
Yeah.
So what do we do with that?
We
We
can
tabled
advertise
it.
that for next month.
We have to advertise it next month.
Okay.
You're getting to come back in.
I'm excited.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I'm so agree.
Mr. Prosecutors, you're up. Not last. You're not last.
I think next to last.
Next to last. So we have in front of us now, Mr. Modisette, on salary ordinance 2023-11, prosecutors, amending deputy prosecutor's base salary. He did address this at the meeting last week, and if anybody has any additional questions for Mr. Modisette, or would like to, or if you have any additional comments that you'd like to make.
I have a few comments if I could. I'm concerned about my sleep tonight, that I may dream of Baker Tilly. There may be reports flying out of the ceiling of something hitting me.
Hopefully you're going to Valentine's Day after this, you're going to
As
have
many
to-
times as I've heard it here tonight. But I appreciate the due diligence of getting a report. I don't know what it's going to say yet about our requests. But as we all know in our society today, we have studies for everything.
Yes.
There's probably a study out there that if I take my car, get it serviced every month and have the tires rotated and have it through the car wash once a week and have a mechanic lift the hood and look at it, and then I give it a hug every night before I go to bed, that it will run for at least 5 years and probably never break down. But then there's reality, and the reality is if I go out to get in my car tonight and it doesn't start, it doesn't matter what that study said at that point. And that's what we're dealing with here. We've had 2 positions open for over a year that we haven't been able to hire anybody for.
Yes.
Who
Yes.
would go to work for a base pay of $67,000 after 7 years of college, then taking the bar and having school loans? That's what we're up against. I provided a report. We had a guy, we don't even have anybody interview. Rob and I had a guy interview probably 6 weeks ago that was an elected prosecutor that didn't get reelected. He went to Knox County for $88,000. We finally had a chance to get somebody that had some experience, because if we do have anybody interested, it's somebody directly out of law school that has 0 experience. Well, you can't have somebody like that just go in the courtroom and try a jury trial right off the bat. I mean, that's the situation. I mean, our job, if police officers come over, make arrests, and we say, sorry, we don't have enough people, we can't put a sign on our door and say we're out of business like a lot of these restaurants have done now. They've cut their hours, they're closed different days. I mean, we're in the same position now. So I won't get any raise, Rob won't get any raise, but we gotta have the ability to hire people. We've only got right now 12 full-time deputy prosecutors, 13 counting Rob, and right now there are 29, I believe it is, public defenders. We are way outnumbered. And we're gonna have to get the pay raise up, or it doesn't matter how many, our next request is gonna be about additional positions, but if we don't get the pay up, we're not gonna be able to fill the positions anyway. I mean, like I said, our job's about law and order. And it's very important to the community, public safety. And if we have law enforcement come to our office and have charges, and we're like, sorry, guys, we don't have enough manpower to file them. Or we have trials come up. I also provided our February trial calendar. We've got 69 jury trials set for February. Well, with 13 full-time counting Rob, you tell me how many jury trials that is per deputy. So that's what we're up against here. The public expects us to do the best we can and keep them safe. We try our best, but right now we're trying to do it with only 2 bullets in our 6-gun. We need some help here.
Yes. Yes, Councilman Calamo.
Terry, could you maybe just touch on for everybody what the impact of the whole system would be as far as moving people through the courts and through the jails and all that? I mean, just Cliff Notes version for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, we're going to talk about more manpower here in a minute, but even the more experienced deputies you have, the faster you can move cases, because otherwise, when we hire somebody out of law school, we have to follow them around, we have to try to train them, we have to try to explain to them what to look for in cases, all those kind of things. So it will make a difference across the board. I mean, I'll talk in a minute about the uptick in cases and all those problems we've got, but I mean, that's on top of, we have a lot of inexperienced attorneys right now because we cannot get people with experience because of the pay.
And I reached out and spoke to Mr. Modisette ahead of time, and I told him what we're struggling against is Baker Tilly does, and I know everybody's sick of hearing it, but they do tell us what a median pay for prosecuting is. And if it is not agreeable and not where it works, then we'll have an opportunity like the other departments. And I think if we don't follow some kind of a protocol on of doing this, I think then we create more chaos here. And that's what we're dealing with in our reality. So I do appreciate, and I do appreciate your passion too on that. And so,
We also right now have one of our experienced attorneys that came to Rob last week, just interviewed for a new job, pay again. and they're supposed to hear any day now, so we may lose another one. So, and now after what Rob's heard here tonight, he's told me that he only has to work 35 hours too, based upon what chief deputies are required to work. So we have that problem too going. I'm just joking.
He gets his pay from the state.
So, yeah, he's cutting it in half while he's working.
I mean, I'm no disrespect to Baker Tilly, but there's a reality here.
There is.
I mean, if we can't get anybody to take the jobs, I don't care what their study says.
And that's why we did
That's
a
right.
4% increase last year without the study, because we felt like we still had to do something for employees of the county. And it was a close vote, and that's what we did on that. But does anybody else have questions for Mr.
Mr. Modisett, I think when you talk about college debt, and you talk about education and stuff like that, and Dr. Curtis is leaving right now, but I think that that's the case we run into with anything, in any job, in any position right now in the whole United States, is that it's hard to find people. Whether it's a high school education or it's a college education, whether it's past work history or anything else. I think that what we've seen over the last couple of years, blame it on COVID, blame it on whatever you want, put it on a generation. I just think that right now it's hard for everybody. And I know that nobody wants to hear the scapegoat of Baker Tilly. I just think that, you're probably right. I mean, you look at the numbers, the 12 versus 26. But I agree with President Thacker that that's something, 30 more days, unless what Rob said, that person quits. Hopefully we can button this up and get it taken care of. So,
I mean, really in light of what we're dealing with, it's not a lot of money on the raises. We're talking $150,326 according to the auditor's office. So I'm just saying it will be worth it to the public in the long run.
and could decrease our amount of people in the jail, things like that. I understand that.
And then we do have to factor into it, if we give an increase to prosecutors, we do have a liability for the public defenders. And I know that's not your concern, that's our concern, that.
I was-
A smaller liability.
Yeah, and I was told by them they aren't asking him for anything at this
It
time.
doesn't matter what they ask for, it's statutory, is that not true?
And down the pike, we'll have to meet that.
We have to do it regardless, based on that.
I think 80% is parity for PD versus prosecutor.
Rob did some research on that. You want him to address that. He-
No, thanks, we know what he's gonna say.
We're not sure we agree with that, but
Well,
we
I
can deal
can't
with that
see
later.
two attorneys agreeing on anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's what they make their money on.
That's true.
Not agreeing.
But let me just say that, we do, we're hustling along on this thing, and if we have to have a special meeting to get it done,
may have-
we'll do it. And that, we are hurrying, we're pedaling as fast as we can. And Terry, I swear to you, I mean, I know what you're up against. I do, I read that jail log every day, and it is unbelievable. The domestic battery, the meth use, I mean, it's killer. It is killer, and I know what you're doing. And I appreciate you so much, I do.
Thank
you. And, we're gonna make something happen for you as fast as we can.
I know your jobs are hard, because I know you have to deal with everybody. I do, but I wouldn't be over here.
Chris, I mean, we gotta deal with Chris for crying out
Yeah.
loud.
I wouldn't be over here if I didn't feel it was urgent
I
at this
know
point.
that. I know, I feel your pain, I do.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
is there an authority we can get official word from on what that looks like as far as the parity, and Rob's gonna come up and give us his take?
Yeah.
So we had that, they gave that to us, if everything that the prosecutors asked for collectively in this
I think there's some different
Yeah,
interpretations
I
of
mean,
that, right?
I have not done any research on it. Councilman Loudermilk, I have not delved into it at all. I'm positive Rob has done more research onto that topic than I have. My impression from past dealings with the county was, prosecutor's office, 80% of the prosecutor's office is parity for public defenders. And you cannot, at least it was my impression, you could not pay a public defender less than 80% of what the prosecutor in a corresponding position would make. Now, I don't know how that factors in with stipends and high felony courts or specialty units, what have you, but that was the cursory impression I had of the relationship between prosecutor's office pay and public defender pay.
I will say this, we have deputy prosecutors leave our office to go become public defenders, but we don't have public defenders lining up to take our jobs, so you can figure that out for yourself of which deal they think's the best deal.
Just so there's no secrets, all I said to Mr. Wright was, I do have all of that research and I will email it to him. So-
And that's excellent. And what I was trying to answer the question that Councilman Loudermilk asked is, at the last meeting, what we had in front of us was, if we went with all the requests that the prosecutors asked, it was $503,000, and it was estimated that the parity for public would be $360,000. And whether that is arguable, like, maybe very well be, but I mean,
Yeah,
we
I
just
will
had
look
those
at it.
numbers in front of us, and that's what we were looking at since it. But we do have, in front of us here, salary ordinance 2023-11. Oh, I was just gonna ask, did anybody else have questions?
Just to be clear on the public defender part of it, there's a portion of that that is
Reimbursed.
refunded by the state.
By the state.
40%.
What
It's
percentage is
40%.
that, do you know?
40, it's 40.
40%.
40%.
Yes.
Is,
So on our sheet that says 336,000, that does not include that 40%, correct?
no, correct.
And actually, the Prosecutors Association is looking at hopefully, getting them,
Some
state
kind of
to reimburse
reimbursement.
some of that back. That'd be godsend.
Yeah.
One of the legislative proposals right now that is being pushed forward and is actually moving forward, is, from my understanding, is that they are asking the state to adopt an almost identical reimbursement program for prosecutors' expenses to what they have for people that have joined the public defender program within the state. Obviously, we've done that. I can see us potentially doing the same thing if that passes, and
Boy, that'd be
so-
great.
And that would be a good way to raise that, rate as well.
It'd be manna from heaven, you know.
It'd be
Honest
great.
to
I don't
God,
know if
literally.
we'll have an office by that time, but I mean,
I think it has a
Yeah, I
chance to
don't-
pass this year. I hear that. I think
Yeah.
it does, might.
I don't know the likelihood at this point, but I know that.
Senator Ford said possibly could pass.
I mean, because the problem is not just the low pay, it's being overworked too, on top of it, so.
Something Rob knows a lot about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
with these issues that we've tabled and talking about Baker Tilly, if we should get that report back quicker, am I correct that we only need to give 48 hours notice, public notice before, and we could have a special call?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I believe the council requires an advertisement in the paper, at least 48 hours notice to the members, and then 24 hours notice to the publication requirement.
Okay.
And
For public.
and then the posting for the open door law, which is 48 hours.
Okay.
And availability of this room.
Right.
And that,
A room.
A room.
Okay.
that's right.
President Thacker, I'd like to make a motion to table salary ordinance 2023-11.
Is there a second?
Second.
Rager? And motion been made second. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, I heard one nay. Do we need a roll call? Yeah. You guys want a roll call? Okay. Please note that Mr. Loudermilk is a nay. So salary ordinance, so the motion passed. So salary ordinance 2023-12, prosecutor add deputy prosecutor percentage increases. Anybody would like to ask Mr. Onset about this? That was presented last week. It had some specialty, I believe you call them specialty cases.
This would be about our increase in numbers, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're asking for 3 deputy prosecutors, and I think I gave you some statistics from, oh, okay, wait, you
No, this
haven't
is
went
the
on to the next one.
percentage.
This is just the percentage,
Yes,
okay.
percentage increases for specialty, as
Okay.
what I heard you say.
Yeah, right.
Specialty trials or violent crime or.
Yeah, I can explain that. So right now, our people are paid according to their experience levels, so there's a base pay of 67,000, and then they can make more than that based upon their experience. What we're trying to do now is get the base pay up to 80,000, but then up to additional 10% depending on which position we put them in. So we're trying to take out the more of the subjective part of this, and it just be this position pays this much, that kind of thing. So again, it kind of falls back to trying to be competitive. So, you know, like on the major crime trial deputy, for instance, or violent crimes specialty deputy, things like that, they would get an additional percentage on top of the 80, and they wouldn't be paid the same as someone that didn't have that additional experience to handle one of those positions.
Yes. Anybody have any questions for clarity?
Mr. Modisett, you had talked about the one prosecutor that you lost in Knox County for 88,000. Do you know, did they have any of these percentage of increases on that particular job, or?
No, what he was told, and we got to know him fairly well. I think he would have came here if we could have been competitive. He said they offered me a base pay of 88,000, but told me they're going to go to their council and they think they can get his pay up to, I think it was 120, wasn't it, Rob? 120,000. So they promised him that he'd get a minimum of 88, and they were going to try to get his pay up to 120. We have, you know, in some of the, like the counties that have prisons, like Sullivan, for instance, some of their part-time positions pay as much as our base pay here for full-time deputy prosecutors because they have a prison, so they get extra funding, which, I mean, to me, it's not about who gets the funding, it's about what does it take to hire somebody that has some experience to fill the position.
Any additional questions? Not, I accept motion.
President Thacker, I'd like to make a motion to table salary ordinance 2023-13.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Salary ordinance 2023-13, prosecutor add, deputy prosecutor position 3. This is on, this page number there, 50? 54. Oh, because it has.
And I can summarize this pretty quickly, I think, if you want me to, or if you.
Before, yes, please do.
So we've asked for 3 deputy positions: violent crimes deputy, a major crimes trial deputy, and a juvenile crimes deputy. And as I had told you before, based upon if we use the same formula for our people that's used for the public defenders, they're only allowed to have so many cases per public defender, or it's considered a violation of the defendant's constitutional rights because they aren't getting proper representation. If we had that same formula, which IPAC, the Indiana Prosecutors Council, applied that formula to each county, and when we went up there in December for our winter conference, they gave us all a copy for every county. This county should have a minimum of 29 deputy prosecutors, and depending on how you equate the formula, it could be as many as 35. So we're not asking for that, obviously, but we're asking for 3 deputies on the basis of we need some more specialty. The major crimes trial deputy, we had someone in that position that did leave to go to a private firm here in town within the last year. But that's someone that can help us as far as, when I say us, Rob and I, be in charge of the major cases, the murder cases, and figure out, because those cases, obviously, I mean, I was going to try the State versus Pitts trial. I spent probably, I don't know, 7-8 months preparing for that. We had over 50 witnesses. He'd taken off out of state, so we had a bunch of out-of-state things that had to be offered. I mean, it takes a ton of time on a case like that. And I mean, if it's your family member that got murdered, guess what? You want to make sure that the case is handled correctly and there's justice, if as all possible with the case. So that's what that position would be. The violent crimes, I went and obviously talked to the THPD during my last campaign. One of the things they asked me for was, could we have a violent crimes deputy where their office would know who to report to and have one person that's pretty much designated to be the person that would interact with them and handle that. So more like what our drug task force deputy would be. And I think that's definitely, I mean, right now, honestly, we don't have what we think is a person that has enough experience to really handle that position on our present staff. So again, kind of goes back to what the salaries are going to be and that kind of thing. The juvenile crimes, right now, the juvenile violent crimes are really on the rise. So we have a lot more cases over there. And as everybody knows, the cases, they're so packed over there, they move so slowly. But that's our request. I mean, I gave you some statistics, and the statistics were that from 2017 through 2021, that we have nearly an average of 450 more felony cases per year than we'd had the prior 2012 to 2016. So the number of cases continues to go up. You know, obviously people can debate why. I mean, obviously drug problem is a big part of all that. I mean, Councilman Loudermilk and Councilman Thompson know what I'm talking about. I mean, we're all way busier. We all have way more cases, unfortunately. It's a sad state of affairs, but it is what it is. With regard to, obviously, if we can get a juvenile crimes deputy, we're going to need a secretary for that person. And then the community service coordinator. Community corrections decided and the board voted that they were no longer going to monitor community service. So if we're going to have community service, we're going to have to do it. And so we need a person full-time to keep track of all that. We've also contacted ISU, the High Tech Crimes Unit, and asked them to see if they could help us develop a program to make that even more efficient as far as monitoring all that and everything. So we're proactive on all this stuff, but that's going to be a fairly big job because, I mean, right now, there has to be community service on some cases. For instance, OVWI, second offense, you have to either do so many days in jail or so much community service. And obviously, we don't want them over in the jail with the situation we'd have over there. So I think it's important that we continue with community service, and we're willing to take it on if you'll give us the manpower to keep track of it and do it.
And those are two separate ones. So first we have to deal with, and I appreciate you addressing that. First we have to deal with the salary ordinance 2023, which has got with the three requests of prosecutors. Two of those being added special prosecutor position, one being a low-level felony.
Mr. Modisett, can you remind me again, you mentioned kind of the formula for prosecutors versus defenders. How many currently do you have?
As far as full-time,
How many full-time and part-time do you have?
we have 13 counting Rob full-time, and we have 7 part-time, but one of them we haven't utilized, so it's 6. That was part of our proposal to eliminate. And the reason we didn't is because the council gave us an extra person a couple years ago, and we agreed to not fill that part-time spot, and we've kept our word and did not do that if they would give us another person. So that spot, technically, it doesn't come into play with this.
Okay, and I think just in light, you know, we're trying to progress with things, obviously, the numbers, and we talked last week, I asked, I can't remember if it was you or Rob, if we're seeing an increase in the types of crime and the numbers. And I don't want to, by any means, think that we're not looking at that and considering that. We're gonna try to potentially move at a, fast pace on this, but we wanna make sure we do it right.
Okay, I understand.
And so, yeah, and just, I appreciate, the thoughts on it, but, and I do think specializing like this and having that is a good idea, especially in light of what's going on.
Any other questions? Not any questions, I accept the motion.
In light of what I just said, I will make a motion to table salary ordinance 2023-13.
This motion is made.
Second.
Second. Councilman Thompson, any other discussion? No other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Got one more shot.
I think I've said
Yeah.
pretty much everything, probably exhaustive. You
You did
guys are gonna
cover it,
dream
but-
about me tonight, so I need to get out of here,
If
so.
anybody has any additional
We
questions.
dream about you every day.
Yeah, it will be a nightmare.
2023, 14, this has to do with adding of the 2 legal secretary positions, one of those being for that salary for the deputy low-level prosecutor.
The juvenile,
The other one
yes.
being for community corrections.
Community service coordinator.
Community service, I'm sorry, community
Yes.
service. So, is there any additional questions on that? Anybody? Yeah, I think that you did cover it really well last week and again this week, so Chair would accept the motion.
I move we table salary ordinance 2023-14.
Is there a second?
Second.
Has motion's been made, second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Salary ordinance 2023-1, juvenile court staff increase. This is what we also call CASA, and we have Alana here, who's been so very patient
Speaking of
with
patient.
us tonight. And let me ask first if anybody from council has any questions before we ask for any additional comment. Yes,
Hi, how you doing, Glenn?
Councilman Loudon.
This is the same request you talked about second half last year. Is that correct?
Actually, I've been
Is it
before you
similar?
7 times, yes.
Right, but we discussed it, right?
This
in
was what
detail?
was in October, the positions that had been voted on and agreed on, and then for some reason, they got voted out.
Right.
This is part of a requirement for a grant.
And I assume last week you went into great detail about the
Yes.
importance of these positions. Okay.
And
Right.
just a side note, since I was here 7 days ago, I gave you a progress list of what our current cases were. Since I was here last Tuesday, our cases have increased by 60 cases.
What? Oh, my God.
That brings us from 528 when we were here 529 to 562
Oh.
in just 7 days.
So, I know how I feel about this. I'll keep my opinion to myself, being the chair, but, does anybody have, would anybody like to make a motion this time?
I would like to make a motion, unless anyone would like to discuss.
I'll second it.
Well, let me, let me say the word. I'd like to make a
question,
motion
let's
for
go.
salary ordinance 23-01.
The motion's been made and now
And
would
I'll
like to
second.
And second.
To what?
Oh, to approve.
Approve salary
To approve.
ordinance 2023-01.
I'm just so into it, Karen, I just, this is again why I don't make motions.
Let's go. Let's pass this baby.
Duly seconded, and any further discussion?
We want to
No
pass
further
it.
discussion, all those in
We'll
favor say
pass
aye.
it. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yes, thank you. Oh,
I want to try too.
I'm not gonna look at you, cause you know I already did last week, so.
So, with that being concluded, we don't have any honorary resolutions. I don't have any resolutions.
You're not.
We don't have any honorary resolutions or resolutions related to fiscal policy of the council that I know of. We don't have any appointments. The only thing I would like to do, as I mentioned earlier, I would like to have a subcommittee for the Baker Tilly and try to call for a meeting on that with Marie, David, and I. And then we'll probably likely ask for a special meeting. Once we get a report, we want to speed this up some. And no other appointments, I would, unless there's any other question, oh, I'm sorry.
I got a question
Go ahead.
for the auditor's office. Do you have a total on what we approved tonight, roughly?
So for clarification, in case someone asks, for what you approved as the actual additional appropriations from this sheet,
Yeah.
or,
From the sheet that we got?
or from
The
the
sheet that we got.
salary ordinances that you will be doing additional
Yeah.
appropriations on?
Yeah, so we haven't approved anything yet. We have to do appropriations at next.
I just wanna clarify that.
Yes.
Forget- You're looking at around 900,000, cause I will divide, I will what I gave you will now have to be divided up amongst how many pays we actually have left. With the jailers, I would consider that you don't need all that longevity in there.
Or the benefit structures on some of those, we addressed
You know
that.
what I mean, that
in the last,
60,000.
week as
So
well.
I think that we can reduce that a little bit. So, while looking at it, I was doing some of that here by Jennifer. I think that you're looking at overall about probably 800,000 for the rest of the year.
And just for my clarification, this sheet here, the one that you gave us initially on the budget summary for this year, the general fund was $3,907,616 over revenue, correct?
Over calendar year revenue, yes.
And that $900 should be added to that? 900,000, excuse me. Okay.
And then we'll have
That's
to
all I had.
advertise for appropriations, and then we'll be voting on appropriations on it
We will, for the ones that you approved, we will calculate additional appropriations for, we will advertise those. Those will actually be on your meeting for March then to approve for those positions.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything more.
President Louder, or President Thacker?
Yes.
Can we clarify for the members of the council, do we want to go ahead and tell Mr. Wright to send a letter to Baker Tilly to see if we can push this?
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fine.
Is everybody on the council in
Yeah,
agreement to make that happen?
We don't have a bit of problem with that, I think.
That way we can put this behind us and have a
Yes.
special call.
I'll copy the council on that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wright.
Yeah. Now, everybody hold tight. We still have to, some signatures are gonna be needed as well upon adjournment. So, and black pen as well. So, if there's not any other, business in front of the council, I accept the motion for adjournment.
Moved.
Is there a second?